Shalom, shalom. I am late. Obviously, this stream we are not going to be on long at all. Um, we're going to try to cut this down to about an hour because I am starting so late. But clearly, uh, something was brought up that needed to be addressed. And to be honest, I just really just overslept. I overslept. It was a good Shabbat nap. So, hallelujah. Whew. Excuse me. Actually, it was a very good Shabbat nap. Excuse me. Oh, let me get into my shaloms. Forgive me. Patterson hosted Shalom. Well, I enjoyed the conversation. I really did enjoy the conversation. Hallelujah. And then I lost cell phone service on my phone. Ooh, excuse me. Hallelujah. Warmanati Shalom. Hanak. Yasharal. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. I'm recruiting for my Goshen as well. So spread the word. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Israel Lewis, shalom. Elktown, shalom. Mike B, shalom. Well, here's the thing. Capriel 25, shalom. Here's the thing, Brother David, Sister Amy. My phone died. Well, not died. The call dropped. So I look at my phone, it shows just the blank screen. And I still had bars. And then as soon as I went to call you back, oh, sorry, I apologize. My bars went from 3 to 0. So I'm looking at, I went to place the call. It rang once, and then my bars went down. So it might have disconnected on your end, and then after disconnecting on your end, and I tried to call you back, nothing, absolutely nothing, which I find rather interesting. I hope this stream was brought on by I overslept. A commenter who apparently watched yesterday's stream and then made a comment about he wanted me to bring the light. I guess he was comparing uh, what Arbery went through and then what another jogger went through. And her name was, I had to look up the article. Enlightened One, shalom. Brother Jones, shalom. Am I coming in clear now? Wendy Martinez. Wendy Martinez. And I guess I hope the person's in the chat. I hope the person is in the chat. But they were drawing the correlation. Like, why aren't you talking about this? You know, why is it you're only talking about? So I'm going to talk about this. We're going to talk about it. Nazari Israel, shalom. Shalom, shalom. Brother David, after we get off, let me get some things completed, and then I will hit you up. I'll probably text you so that we can do the Facebook chat. Hallelujah. Justin Monroe, shalom. So I am going to talk about this thing so that this individual does not think that I'm avoiding any issues. We'll just talk about it. We will just talk about it. It bothers me sometimes when people do that sort of thing. Instead of just saying, hey, this thing was wrong, they always try to, in one way or another, deflect this issue, deflect it, and make it about something that it's. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it. I had heard of the story, but a woman who was jogging through a DC park who had been stabbed to death, and that's all I heard from the story. We'll wait a couple more minutes. I don't expect a lot of people on this stream. It really came out of nowhere, unprovoked. I woke up and then I saw the comment, and I was like, okay, let me see what somebody commented on it. Read the comment and kind of had that. It figures. Lee Roby, shalom. Shalom, shalom. It irks me when an injustice is wrong, and the first thing that people do is reverse it instead of just saying wrong. As I believe Woman said, wrong is wrong is wrong. Sin is sin is sin. Michael G, shalom. John Ishi, shalom, shalom, shalom. So I was like, you know what? So let's discuss, and again, I hope the individual who chose to comment, this individual has always been kind of skeptical. But I hope that they are still in the chat, because rather than getting a argument, comment argument, which I don't do that commenting back and forth with people. That's just too much work. I was like, you know what? Let me just, I'm already late, but let me just jump on and do a short stream to address both sides of the issue. Because if you're going to say two things are similar, then they must be similar. All right, we're gonna wait another minute or two. Brother Jones, we are going to read her the story. We're going to read her story. So for everybody here, I am sure you are aware, if you watch last live stream, or even more importantly, watch the news. Now, I don't watch the news, but I do like Drudge Report. So about the Ahmaud Arbery shooting case that's out there that happened. I did a live stream yesterday discussing it. Somebody had commented and said basically, why haven't you mentioned the Wendy Martinez case? Apparently trying to draw a correlation between the Arbery jogging death, a black man killed by 2 white men, and the Martinez case, white woman stabbed to death by a black man. So we're gonna look at some of the details in these 2 cases, so that we can get a better idea. Because I guess they're trying to draw the correlation. Now, first and foremost, it is an innocent person's life that was lost. Color doesn't matter. Black, white, they're innocent. But there are certain details that you got to pay very close attention to even the response to even the response that was given, to even the defense mechanisms that are now out there. There's a group now asking for the defense, getting money for the defense of a DA and another man who killed a person in cold blood. Over 30,000 members are in this group supporting their actions, supporting it, saying they're just protecting their community, Okay? So now let's read about the stabbing death of Wendy Martinez. A 23-year-old, this is from CNN.com, I had to look it up. A 23-year-old man has been charged with murder after stabbing death of a Washington woman who was jogging Tuesday evening, according to DC police. Now, here's a very interesting thing. She had been stabbed Tuesday evening. The article that I'm reading was written on Friday, September 21st, 2018. So from Tuesday to Friday, they had acquired the surveillance tape and made an arrest in 3 days. Sorry, technically 2.5 days. They had already viewed the surveillance camera footage and made an arrest in 2 days. Wendy Martinez, who was recently engaged, was stabbed. Sorry, can I speak into the microphone? Okay. Where's the microphone? It's on this side. Okay. So a 23-year-old man has been charged with murder and a stabbing death of a Washington woman who was jogging Tuesday evening, according to DC police. She was stabbed Tuesday. They made an arrest on Friday. We're already starting to see a great difference. They viewed surveillance tape and made an arrest in 2 days. Wendy Martinez, who was recently engaged, was stabbed to death in what looked to be an unprovoked attack, Metropolitan Police Chief Peter Newsom said in a news conference Thursday morning. Newsom said Martinez, that's exactly it, John Ishii, thank you. Shalom, Sister Rosie. Newsom said Martinez, 35, was known as an avid runner and was jogging Tuesday night when she was stabbed at the intersection of 11th and P Streets just before 8 p.m. She managed to enter a carry-out restaurant nearby where community members, including a nurse, Newsom said, attempted to tend to her wounds. Elkown, you said it right there. She was transported to a hospital where she was pronounced dead. Based on surveillance, shalom, Sister Amy. Based on surveillance footage and tips from the community, which Newsom said were key to the case, detectives were able to quickly identify the suspect, Anthony Marquez Crawford. Anthony Marquez Crawford was a black man who unprovoked stabbed Wendy Martinez. Unprovoked, just stabbed her. Cold blood. He was found in a park on Wednesday evening and taken in for questioning. So the day after she had been stabbed, they had already brought in a suspect for questioning. The day after she was stabbed, they had already reviewed surveillance film and brought in a suspect for questioning. Thursday morning, Crawford was arrested and charged with murder while armed in Martinez's death, Newsham said. Investigators have yet to uncover a motive, Newsham added. We were able to talk to multiple witnesses, and we don't have anything to suggest that there was any type of confrontation between the two, Newsham said. It looks like it was an unprovoked attack. Brother Jones, that's right. Justice, for some, is expediently fast. For others, hey, the DA says, I don't see a problem in that. I don't see a problem in what they did. So in some cases, justice is done expediently fast. And in other cases, now, should Anthony Crawford be suffering? I don't even think he should be alive, to be honest. Taking an innocent person's life, you should be dead. So Anthony Crawford should be dead. But I looked online for groups that supported Anthony Crawford, the murder. I don't find groups that say he's a God-fearing, good Christian man. Oh, I know Anthony Crawford. He was a good man. I don't see those groups. I don't see anybody defending him. The killing of Arbery was in Georgia. The killing of Wendy Martinez was in Washington, D.C. But in one day, the cops scoured surveillance, talked to people in the community, and immediately had Rebecca, wife of Jonathan, shalom, and immediately had a suspect in one day. These two men committed a murder, and for 2 months they were free. In fact, the DA who was supposed to pick up the case said, well, I don't see anything that they did wrong. What if Anthony Crawford saw a white woman running through the park and thought she was running because she was evading taxes? What if? That's just as logical as we see a black guy running through the neighborhood and he had to have stolen something, and got killed. Makes just as much sense. We saw a black guy running through the neighborhood and he had to have stolen something, so we confronted him and tried to make a citizen's arrest because he's guilty. He's guilty for jogging? So could we say then a white woman jogging pretty late, it's September, so it's dark, or the sun's going down, it's 8 o'clock in September, she's jogging at night through a park. Maybe she was a prostitute running from the police. Maybe she had how many people have ever seen that show, Snapped? Maybe she committed a murder and was running. Maybe what was that woman's name that killed her husband? I can't remember her. Maybe it was that. Nobody come to that conclusion. Nobody came to that conclusion. And it's interesting how quickly they mobilized everybody to make sure that they caught the perpetrator. Let's continue. and in no way am I remedializing her death. That man, Anthony Marquez Crawford, should be dead, period. Period. He should suffer the ultimate for taking a life innocently. But I don't see Facebook groups defending his action to the tune of 30,000 members who themselves are calling for a race war. Right, yes. Lee Roby, that's what they said. There was a burglary suspect in the neighborhood. But what assumption that is he burglarizing? He's jogging. What did he steal? What probable cause did they have to say he was a burglary suspect? Was he running down the street with a TV? A laptop? He had nothing on him. Right, it's not against the law to run, yet why do we assume? My mind says, oh man, it's going too fast. Let me get back. Why do we assume? My mind says they're running. Is there a danger behind them? I need to turn and run as well. People, I tell you, right. If he's running in a direction, maybe I should be running behind him in that same direction. Right. One man's running in the middle of a day. Middle of the day. He has to be a robbery suspect middle of the day. She's running 8 o'clock at night through a park. He lived within that neighborhood and still was assumed that he had committed a crime because he was jogging and black. Exactly, Sister Amy. Right. A lot of people jog for health reasons. She was jogging. It's Lee Roby, yes, sir. That's all they had to do was call the cops if they felt something. Even then, there's still no probable cause to actually call the police. But if you really felt it was that urgent, that's what you could have done. So that's true. There is a difference between running and jogging. That's right. And in both cases, they were both joggers. In both cases, they were joggers. Let me finish the story. I cannot even begin to imagine what her fiance, what her family, what her mom, what her brother, what her friends are going through right now. And I want to extend our heartfelt condolences to this family, as do I. It's sad that an innocent woman, whatever color, was murdered. He said, Christina Moore, a friend who spoke at the news conference on behalf of Martinez's family, described her as joyful and funny and loving and always there. Wendy should have been shopping for her wedding dress on Friday. Well, I'm sure this young man could have been doing a lot of things today. He could have been playing his Xbox. He could have been at his job working. He could have been talking to a girlfriend. He could have been doing a lot of things. I saw somebody's comment. Somebody copied it and posted it. When the man's mother, Arbery's mother, was commenting on the situation, people were commenting, send her back to Africa. That was people's comments. Send that monkey back to Africa. Good riddance. You see the difference? You see the difference in good riddance? Send them back to Africa? See the difference? So on one side, a woman is dead. There's an outpouring of condolences and sorrow, as there should be. She did not deserve to die. But people galvanized and said, right, exactly, Sister Tanya, while they themselves live in stolen land. Exactly. Then on the other side, you have a man who, unprovoked, he didn't do anything. There was no probable cause for them to follow him. He tried to avoid them several times. Then they jumped out with a 12 gauge. You see, in one situation, you have a crazed black man a crazed black man, Anthony Crawford, who stabbed a woman who was white. Crazed. He was crazed. He had no cause to do it. They can't find a motive. He just stabbed somebody. Just like these people who play that knockout game. I'm going to walk up to somebody and just sock them as hard as I can. That's crazy. And all those people should have the opportunity, those people who got socked, should have the opportunity to go out and employ the boxer of their choice, the MMA fighter of their choice or themselves, and make them go in a ring with the perpetrator who punched them. But this man was clearly crazy. He had no motive behind it. Just like Dylan Roof, just like the Sandy Hook shooter. Kind of. There's still some skepticism in that story. Just like Timothy McVeigh. They're just crazed. They're crazed individuals who do heinous crimes. They have any proof of the guy and the other. The Arbery case, they have no proof. He's dead now. There was no proof. In the case with Arbery, they saw him running and immediately said he's guilty. Oh, I hope they go into jail. Oh, 12 tribes, thank you for saying that. I hope they're in Gen Pop, which is general population. I hope they are in Gen Pop. I hope they are in there. And the sad thing is in both cases, an innocent person died. But to compare the two, look at the response in one case. Man committed murder. A day later, they have a suspect. Let me see. Crawford's first court appearance was scheduled for Thursday afternoon, according to Leah Guruz, a spokesman for the District of Columbia Courts. He was expected to be represented by a public defender. CNN was unable to determine early Thursday afternoon whether Crawford had legal representation. Martinez's death came just weeks after the killing of 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts, a University of Iowa student, disappeared while out running in July, prompting an extensive search by authorities. Her body was found last month. The suspect in her killing pleaded not guilty. So, in one case, the guy did the crime Tuesday, was questioned Wednesday, was arrested, and in less than a week, or in about a week, he's got a court date. He's got a court date in about a week. In the other case, they had the tape. The DA, the prosecuting attorney who should have taken this case, said out of his own mouth, I don't see what they did wrong. I don't see what those two gentlemen did wrong. They're protecting their community. I sure know I did not see 30,000 black people form a YouTube page and say Anthony Crawford is innocent. He's a God-fearing young man who just assumed that this woman had to have been committing a crime. I don't see that. But yet, in the case of these two white men who committed this crime, chased the man down the road, the man ran past them, they chased them again, they ran past them again, then they hop out with a 12 gauge. If you see a guy hop out of a truck with a 12 gauge, what are you going to do? You going to sit there? We're making a citizen's arrest. Just to come and find out, a lot of stuff that they said was bullshit. A lot of the stuff that they made up was bullshit. They made up certain parts of their story and then changed it. Or we saw him looking at a house that was under construction. He was looking at a house under. So again, this woman who was wronged, and I'm gonna keep stressing that, and was murdered innocently. And by a black man, Anthony Crawford, and even the media spin on this whole situation. she was engaged and about to get married, unprovoked. So the black man, there obviously had to have been a provocation. What was his provocation? His skin was black. So therefore, because his skin is black, he had to have been burglarizing. If you see a black man running, he burglarized something. He did a crime if you see a black man running. Because he clearly can't be running to work out. He clearly can't be running to keep in shape. He has to be running because he committed a crime. But they see the white woman running, and nobody ever said, hey, she must have been committing a crime. Nobody said that. You see the discrepancy in both cases? You see it. So this man, after trying to avoid conflict with these two guys, white guys in their truck, who are accusing him and trying to make a citizen's arrest with no evidence on this black man for running, they hop out with a 12 gauge. The whole thing's recorded. They approach him with a 12 gauge. Dude's probably scared. He starts fighting. He gets shot. He dies. The district attorney, obviously somebody got killed in the street, so it's going to go. The cops had to have gotten called. The district attorney, who should be going after these two guys, because the guy who was with his son, the father, well, he was a old DA, so he's in the good old boys club. He's got connections within that environment, so he can do this. So instead of taking up the case, no, it's justified. No, it's just they thought it was a robbery, and they approached the guy. The guy shouldn't have attacked them. How many of us, if you had a firearm on you, a knife on you, and you saw somebody jump out of a truck after you? Let's just say, I'm gonna reverse this a little bit. Let's say you're jogging, if you're a white person, in the middle of areas that I've lived in. Let's say South Central. Let's say Compton. Let's say Nat City. Let's say an area like that. Watts. You're jogging through an area, and somebody approaches you with a firearm, and he's black. And you're a white person, and somebody comes out and tells you that you're under arrest with a gun drawn on you. Are you just going to lay on the ground and submit? Or are you going to, in your mind, say, this is a life and death situation because I have no clue why this person is approaching me? It could have been are they here to rob me? Why are they coming out with a shotgun? I'm jogging. I tried to avoid them. Exactly. It's going to scare the living crap out of you. And your mind is going to go into fight or flight, hopefully fight, and you're going to try to defend yourself. The thing is, Amy, is that he tried to run from them. They came after him 3 times and then cut him off with their truck. And jumped out with a 12 gauge. So he tried to avoid conflict several times before they actually cut him off. So at that point, I'm like, whoa, why do you keep trying to cut me off? And I have no idea what's going to happen to myself. I don't even know who you are. Most of us already know. We would go into some sort of fight or flight response. We would go into some sort, if you had a firearm, you would have probably deployed your firearm immediately. Immediately. So for people to justify, and sadly enough, when you got 30,000 people, I don't think any of the people in that group are I highly doubt they're black. So when you got 30,000 people who are justifying the action, saying they shouldn't serve jail time because they were just defending their community. Defending it from what? From what? They were just protecting the community? So if they're just protecting the community, does that mean then that if a white person were to make a wrong turn in the areas that I lived, we should open fire? Because, hey, we're protecting our community. Why is a white person driving through the middle of South Central? Why is this white person driving through the middle of Compton? Clearly, he must be here to do some sort of harm or danger to us. So let's open fire. Right, they're defending their community from a black man. So that if a white person took a wrong turn on his motorcycle, we should have opened fire because clearly, he is a threat to us. Hey, we don't know. Maybe he's the next Dylan Roof. Maybe he's coming up to shoot up our block. The same way Dylan Roof shot that black church. Maybe he's here to murder us. We don't know. Let's open fire. You know what would have happened? They would have shut the block down with police presence. There would have been mass arrests and likely other shootouts for said situation. See what I'm saying? There's a difference. I try to present this in a way that it provokes others because when you've got 30,000 people who are defending their actions, I start to wonder. And some of their comments are, y'all ain't ready for a race war. Why are you talking about a race war? Do you want a race war? Well, you're not ready for a race. Let's send the monkeys back to Africa. This is what some of the comments were in the group because some of the comments got out. Right, blast you. I'll see you in prison. Right. And the fact that, you should compare the two. Wendy Martinez's murder by a black man, and they said the man was crazed. He was crazed. And the murderer of Wendy Martinez was a crazy ass, sickly, demonically possessed individual. And you don't see any black people coming to his defense. You don't see threads of people defending what this man did. You don't see them. There's not 30,000 people saying, "Oh my gosh, he was innocent." You don't see it. Worminati, that's exactly it. If everybody's going to go back, let's all go back. Let's give the land back to who the original indigenous people were. All right, hey, we'll go back to Africa. Y'all go back to Europe. Nobody wants to say that. Or that people give it, which I have heard, love it or leave it. So I'm supposed to love injustice. Or I am charged to leave the country, but justice for who? It makes absolutely no sense. So what I do believe at the time that there are provocateurs. There are people out there trying to provoke this thing, trying to stoke the fire, stoke the flames of division, so that people will be against each other. Like I said, for those who don't know, I would implore you, dive into. I'm a person. I like history. I've studied any form of history I can get my hand on that seems somewhat interesting about conquest or war. I've studied it, or continue to study it. I've studied cultures of Roman culture. I've studied Greek culture. I've studied Viking culture. I've studied obviously America doesn't really have a culture, so you can't say the American culture, but the history of America. I've studied indigenous tribal cultures in Africa. I've studied cultures in tribal cultures in the Middle East. I studied tribal cultures here in the Americas before everybody came here, the indigenous people of this land. I've studied culture. I've studied just all sorts of cultures. One thing that I would implore you, if you have the willingness to open up your mind, read something. Elkound, I'm a reply to that comment. Study and read. I dare you. The Willie Lynch letters. Read it. Now, some people say, some historians say, well, Willie Lynch letter wasn't real. I would implore you, broaden your mind. Broaden your mind. You know, people. The Bible says one that travels much has much experience. It says that in the Apocrypha. One that travels much has had much experience. If your mind, I implore the people. If you are a black person and haven't read it, what the hell? But I encourage some of you white brothers and sisters, read that letter. Look at what they showed. Look at what they said on how to break. Okay, I'll ask a question. Would you like me to read an excerpt from the letter? A small section. For those who are in the chat, would you like me to read a small excerpt? If I get 3 yeses, I'll do it. Our L count said yes. Brother Melvin said, Sister Amy said, all right, I'm going there. Hold on to your seats. For some, it's going to make you feel uncomfortable. But it's about damn time. It's about damn time that people start feeling uncomfortable with their thoughts. Start questioning. The Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be ye transformed by the renewing. In order for it to be renewed, you must have new information inside of it. You can't keep the same mindset and say my mind is renewed. Okay? Be prepared. I know I'm going to get demonetized. It is what it is. Okay. All right. This was, thank you, Sister Amy. Thank you. The name of the letter is called the Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave. And I'm going to break this down. I can break it down according to the word itself. Look, think of the time, Brother Jean-Paul, bless you, sir. Shalom. Think of what we have talked about the last week. The story of Egypt, when they were trying to kill the Hebrew boys. They were trying to kill the Hebrew boys. Think of this, okay? We're going to do some breaking down. The name of this letter is the Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave. It was written, well, it was done, I think it was at the beach of Virginia Beach. He was a slave owner in the West Indies and was teaching the slave owners here how to keep your slaves in line. Written, this is December 25th, 1712. Now, a lot of theologians argue and say this was not a legit letter because some of the verbiage that was used in this letter doesn't line up with the words they used back then. I think people are just trying to duck it, to be honest. We're going to go, and yes, they're going to say some offensive language, and I'm going to say the offensive language because I want it to hit you. I want you to hear what was said. I want you to know about the agenda, the same agenda that Pharaoh had. Kill the Hebrew boys. Break up the family unit. You're about to hear how to train a slave. They had a plan. Exactly. You're going to listen to some things. It's going to be offensive, and it should hit you. Let's go there. Let's make a slave. All right. It was the interest. Oh my gosh, I can't read this. There you go. It was the interest and business of slaveholders to study human nature. and the slave nature in particular, with a view to practical results. I and many of them attained astonishing proficiency in this direction. They had to deal not with earth, wood, and stone, but with man, and by every regard they had for their own safety and prosperity, they needed to know the material on which they were to work. Conscious of the injustice and wrong, they were every hour perpetuating and knowing what they themselves would do. Were they victims of such wrongs? They were constantly looking for the first signs of the dreadful retribution. They watched, therefore, with skilled and practical eyes, and learned to read with great accuracy the state of mind and heart of slave, through his sable face. Unusual sobriety, apparent abstractions, sullenness, and indifference indeed. Any mood out of the common was afforded ground for suspicion and inquiry. So he's breaking down basically his skillfulness, him and the people he's worked with, his skillfulness on making a slave. Let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black nigger man, a pregnant nigger woman, and her baby nigger boy. Second, we will use the same basic principle that we will use in breaking a horse, combined with some more sustaining factors. What we do with horses is that we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature. Whereas nature provides them with a natural capacity to take care of their offspring, we break that natural string of the independence from them and thereby create a dependency status so that we may be able, let me go to the next page, to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure. So they're saying that they have to break the natural state of the family structure of a man, of a wife, of a child. Break the structure, break the independence, the independence of the master, and make them dependent on the master. And they were very calculating. Let's dive into this. Cardinal principles for making a Negro. For fear that our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both the beast and the nigger and the horse, we understand that short-range planning economics results in periodic economic chaos. So that to avoid turmoil in the economy, it requires us to have breadth and depth in long-range comprehensive planning, articulating both skill, sharp perceptions. So these people, these slave masters, were securing their longevity, their economic status for generations. You'll read later on, their plan was to do this system and have a system set up for 300 years. Well, once you break the nigger, once you break him, generationally for 300 years, they will be broken. Generationally. They will never come up. They will always have the mentality, the mindset, the thought process of a slave. What was that? Both horse and niggers is no good to the economy in the wild or natural state. Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. For orderly future, especially and particularly, attention must be paid to the female and to the youngest offspring. Whoa. What did Pharaoh's plan say? Kill the males. Kill the males. Let's keep the daughters. Let's keep the female and her offspring. If you keep the female, all you have to see, it's the Egyptian mindset. It's the Egyptian wicked mindset that is said in the Bible. I hope that people take the time to read Jasher. If we are still on and there's enough people, we're going to go through a small section in Jasher where Balaam of Beor gives commands to Pharaoh and tells Pharaoh how this is how you are to get rid of the Hebrew men. This is Bible. And exactly, this is what they really did. This is what they did. This plan has been from the Egyptian period. They just kept making more perfections to it, learning from the mistakes of the people that couldn't keep them in bondage before. Remember, the Hebrew people went through many captivities, and every person learned from their previous captivity. Let's continue reading. For orderly future, especially, both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. Both must be taught to respond to a particular new language. Psychological and physical instruction of containment must be created for both. We hold the 6 cardinal principles as truth to be self-evident based upon the following: the discourse concerning the economics of breaking and tying the horse and nigger together, all inclusive of the 6 principles laid down. About, note, neither principle alone will suffice for good economics. What they're saying is you must do all these things together. You have to execute all the principles together. You can't take one principle out. You have to do all 6 if you plan on having, and I'm going to break it down so you can see how the very system that they created is still going and is perfected today. All principles must be employed for orderly good of the nation. Which nation is this? He came to Virginia Beach to have this conversation. He's talking about America or modern day Egypt. Accordingly, both a wild horse and a wild natured nigger is dangerous even if captured, for they will have tendency to seek their customary freedom, and in doing so might kill you in your sleep. So he's saying the black man in his natural state, just like Pharaoh, the black man, the Hebrew man in his natural state is a danger. That's what Pharaoh was afraid of. Pharaoh was afraid if we go to war, the Hebrews may join up and join our enemies and slaughter us. So we must exercise a plan to destroy them. He's saying if you try to curtail a black man in his natural state free, and you take his freedom away, he may try and kill you. He may try and kill you. Let's continue. You cannot rest. They sleep while you are awake, and are awake while you are asleep. They are dangerous near the family house, and it requires too much labor to watch them always from the house. Above all, you cannot get them to work in this natural state. You cannot get men to work for a system in their natural state. So what do? You have to sell them ideas. Let's continue. It's a psychological battle. This battle that we are seeing, and now it's permeating to all people. Now other people are starting to feel the clamp, are starting to feel the boot on their ass, the way they've never felt it before. But hey, people of color, we've been feeling this since the beginning of our inception of being in this country. Get them together. Hence, both the horse and the nigger must be broken. That is, breaking them from one form of mental life to another. Keep the body, take the mind. In other words, break the will to resist. Break the will of the black person to resist, break their will, so that they do not resist, they do not fight back. Teach them things like have the slave master tell the slaves who they kept with the inability to read, you read the Bible to them. You read the Bible to them. You tell them what the Bible says. Slaves, obey your masters, which they repeated over and over, so that the slaves got the idea that I'm obeying the Jesus of that Bible if I obey my master. And then get a spokesman. Get that house Negro. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to Malcolm X's House Negro and Field Negro speech. Get the house Negro. Present him in front of the slaves and have him tell them the Bible, because they'll listen to another Negro, even though we've trained this one in the house. These field Negroes, you can't control them. They're always trying to run. Brother Melvin, you hearing this? You hearing this? Let's strip away their identity. Let's strip away. When you go to the military, what do they tell you? We're taking you from a regular civilian. We're making you into a soldier. We're stripping away that identity. So they berate you. They tell you your mama's a hoe. Nobody cares about you. So that you are dependent on your staff sergeant. Whoever's training you, dependent on that person. And you're being trained to kill on command without, hey, this person didn't do anything to me. Kill him. Okay. Let's continue. This thing, you'll see it's permeated through, especially the black culture. And we're going to break that down. But as Brother Melvin said, it's permeated through the military. It's permeated through corporate corporations. They've used this same principle. We see, they kept people ignorant of what this says. Yes, Sister Amy. Yes, ma'am. Now the breaking process is the same for both. Okay, I read that. Well, no, I didn't. Now the breaking process is the same for both the horse and the nigger, only slightly varying in degrees. But as we said before, there is an art in long-range economic planning. So they are, HOQ, that jogging mess, I didn't see it, but once again, here they are marching and running in the streets. Goodness gracious. Anyways, so they are planning long range. Right, exactly. I'm glad you said it. I feel the same way. We're gonna run together, guys. What the hell does that mean? They don't do shit. wait, wearing out shoes and getting sweaty. That's exactly it. Running. What is that running gonna do? We're gonna run like he did. That's great. What the hell does that mean? As HOQ said, my brother, wearing out shoes and getting sweaty for no reason, because nobody's gonna care. Let's continue. You must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and nigger. What is the system's focus on today? What is Egypt's focus on today? They focus on the black woman and her offspring. How do you know? Look at all the services they have to keep her under control. We're gonna keep breaking this down. A brief disclosure in offspring development will shed light on the key to sound economic principles. Pay little attention to the generation of original breaking and concentrate on future generations. You see, that's what HOQ. Y'all have that shirt, First Generation Patriarch. Can you find me that shirt? Thank you. First Generation Patriarchs. HOQ has a shirt, and I'm about to show it. You can buy the shirt on HOQapparel.com. It's in the description. It's not my business. It's my brother's business. Built from the ground up. When it says First Generation Patriarch, what they're saying, here's a shirt, First Generation Patriarch. First Generation Patriarch. the slave owners said, or Willie Lynch was saying, we're not really concerned about the first generation. We're going to break the subsequent generations after that. Generational curses, Deuteronomy 28. We were reading yesterday. If you get the first generation, that's a waste. That's a waste because it's too much. Let's get after the future generations. If we can get this generation, it's damaged goods. But the next generation will be trained according to how the first generation and the second generation and the third generation. Now this training goes on by itself, and we don't even have to do anything. Look at society today. Look at the quote unquote, I hate saying the word, black community today. They've been trained. Little girls are raised up twerking at 5 years old, 7 years old. If you're 14 and 15 and ain't pregnant with a child, some people looking at you like, oh, you ugly. If you don't have a weave inside your hair, people look at you like something's wrong. Why you got your nappy hair for? That's a training. It's a training. There's a picture I want you to look at. Just think about this. And for you brothers in the brothers chat, you sisters and sisters chat, it just drew my attention. Look at the front page, the front picture of this stream when it's over. And I want you to really meditate on that picture. Look at the picture. It's a simple picture. I bought cupcakes from Walmart. Look at the picture though. And tell me, what do you see? We're going to continue. Therefore, if you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. And when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you. What do you see us having today? What do you see us having today? They break the mother, but how do they break the mother? See, the same way Hasatan's plan was to get Eve is the same plan that they have here. Let's get the woman. Let's get the woman. Let me read that again. Therefore, if you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development, and when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you. For her normal female protective tendencies have been lost in the original breaking process. For example, take the case of a wild stud horse, a female horse, and an already infant horse, and compare the breaking tendencies with two captured nigger males in their natural state, a pregnant nigger woman with her infant offspring. Take the stud horse, break him for limited containment. Completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle. Listen to this. Whereas you or anybody can ride her in comfort. Breed the mare and the stud until you have the desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse whereby she will eat out of your hand. Whoa! Like the system does? Section 8. Food stamps. Cash aid. Train her to be dependent on you so that she will eat out of your hand. But get the man out of the house. I have had numerous friends who are part of some of these systems. Section 8. They would come and do a random stop by your house. And if there was any sign of a man in your house, you are in jeopardy of losing your housing. Why was it so important to remove that man out of the house? There was a plan to it. You're going to hear the plan. There's a plan to it. But part of it has to do with what I talked about earlier, like the movie Crash with Terrence, what's his name? Howard. You remember when he gets pulled over by the cop and the cop gropes his wife right in front of him? He's teaching that woman something. He's not worried about the man. He's teaching that woman something. Your black husband cannot protect you. So when you can't, and women are naturally created to want to be protected. But if your own husband can't protect you, you're going to seek protection. So where do they turn? Where do they turn? They turn to the system for their protection, which is why over 78 to 80% of divorces are initiated by the woman, which is why they give child support to the woman, which is why they routinely give custody of the children to the woman. It's stripping the power away from the man and making the woman dependent on the system so that she will eat from the system's hands. Meanwhile, the system has her children because she's training her children now to be dependent on the system. Daddy government, there it is. He is now her covering. That's why you've heard me talk about this before, that the government is the covering of a large majority of women. Why a man can't stay if she has Section 8. Zion, can you explain that? All right, Zion, whose family, she knows a lot more on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Why does the system not want the man in the house when it comes to Section 8? Like how they do the house searches and they see the shoes or whatever, so women be like, get all that crap out of the house, get your shoes out of the house. Go ahead. So Zion's gonna talk. Come closer to the camera so they can hear you.
Yes, Master. Okay, so from what I understand, like, yes, I do have family who's on Section 8. They say there's all these different reasons. Supposedly it's more so because they're helping single mothers basically who don't have anybody to take care of them. So if they're helping you, if you bring a man into the house, you're basically saying you don't need their help to be taken care of. So they make it seem like they're trying to help you out and help you take care of the children, and you're struggling. So they put you in a position where you can work, and then have a roof over your head and things like that. So from what I used to see, people, they will have men in the house, and Section 8 kind of knew it. They'll have men in the house, and then Section 8 have to do inspections, and if you're on it, you can't have like guns, you can't have men live there, and if they even suspect, like they do pop-up visits and
they'll do random checks, they'll just show up at your house.
And you have to let them in, and they have to search your house, and if they even think you have a man living there, you could lose your Section 8. So suddenly you're not getting help because a man is there. And from what I've always understood, that it's just them taking the place of the man to take care of you so you can be more independent. Like, because they take care of you with your food, your clothes, your the home, a roof over your head, it'll encourage most women not to even get off of Section 8 because they're fully taken care of. So they
meanwhile, let's check this out. Listen to what you're hearing. Meanwhile, they don't tell her she can't have any more children.
Oh, no.
So she's still out there whoring, having children, and in fact, they're rewarding her because what she's actually doing is bringing up subsequent economic benefit or things that are going to economically benefit the system. They're bringing them up. They're out there having more children with more men that put more men on child support, putting more men on child support. They're broken. But at the same time, they are collecting. The system is actually benefiting from this woman and her subsequent children because those children are going to be raised up and have children that are dependent. And it continues on. The status quo continues on of keeping people enslaved. They just don't know it because they think they're free because I can go to the store if I want to. No, you're still enslaved because the master can come pounding on your door. Let me in. Do you have any men in there? And you have to let them into your house. Do you have any guns? Do you have this? Let me see your income. Do you have enough? Let me see. Okay, yeah. It's all part of the plan. They've been doing this for hundreds of years. We're just late to the damn party. We're just late. This is why they love the single woman. They love the single black woman out there who's uncovered. And you're about to find out why. They talked about it in this letter. We're about to go there. We're about to talk about the prison industrial complex on how they thank you, Ripko, how they incessantly put. An article was just out on Drudge Report. Majority of the people arrested for social distancing are people of color in New York City. They're stacking the prison industrial complex with people of color. And that's part of the plan. Because how many young black men get a felony young in their life, because they have no father. And for the rest of their life, they can never protect themselves or their house. Because if you dare have a gun inside your house, exactly 12 tribes, and they teach the women to rebel against their husbands so that they can separate them. Now he's in bondage and broken financially. Because remember, this is about their economic longevity. They are looking at dollars and cents. Well, they're looking at dollars and dollars while we're looking at pennies and nickels.
I wanted to make one
Well, I'm sorry,
point.
go ahead.
One more point I wanted to make about it, because it's also part of the letter. Master, when he reads it, you'll see the correlation. In these Section 8 houses, you know, they encourage the woman to have a job, at least a part-time job, so she's away from the children go to school, so it's running according to plan. And what they do is they'll let these people live in houses that only rich people or people, middle class people, afford, and they'll live there for pennies on the dollar. They only pay a portion.
Well, a 5-bedroom house,
5-bedroom,
and
swimming pool,
in the hills for $300 a month.
I had an auntie who's dead now, but she was married. She was married on Section 8, and they always act like they don't want that happening. And if they come, they're gonna bust you. And there's loopholes all over the place. She just had a loophole, had a husband who lived there, but off her Section 8, and they just keep certain information separate. And they were living in luxury, but she only worked at Walmart. And they'll do it because, and then the woman in her mind, why get off? They take better care of me than the man gonna do it. I live in luxury with this guy.
Don't go too far in there.
Okay.
She's to get back to that. The whole idea is to give the woman the idea, and you're about to hear it, that the man can't take care of you. That's their plan. This is why they like the independent woman. I don't need no man. You are a perfect slave. When you say, I don't need no man, you are a perfect Willie Lynch slave. And I'm about to read it to you. You're about to hear it yourself. Let's continue. When it comes to breaking, I'm gonna read that again. When you in turn, then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse whereby she will eat out of your hand, and she will turn and in turn train the infant horse to eat out of your hand also. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized nigger, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to complete reversal of the mind. Take the meanest and most restless nigger, you know, the one that's more, the one who's more likely to run away. Take him, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male niggers, the female and the nigger infant. Tar and feather him. Tie each leg to a different horse, faced in opposite directions. Set him afire and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining niggers. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining nigger males to the point of death in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. So what are they doing? They're showing the woman by tarring and feathering the black man, tying his legs to 2 horses, whipping the horses, and having them rip apart that man while he's on fire. They're showing the black woman, he can't protect you. He can't protect you. So then what does that man? What is that woman? And then you beat the other black men. You beat everybody. And you're showing the woman and her child, these men can't protect you. So guess where you have to come now to? Guess where you have to come now? You have to come to daddy, the system, the government. We are the only ones who can protect you. It's psychological warfare. And that's why that scene in Crash was so important. When Terrence Howard was sitting there with his hands on the car, his wife had her hands on the car, and the cop just groping his wife. And that cop's looking dead in the eyes of Terrence Howard as if to say something. I'll beat your ass down. I will beat your black ass down if you say one thing. It was a white cop. I will beat your black ass down if you say one thing about what I'm doing. See, people don't like this uncomfortable fact. This was written I'm reading it. It was written as a letter. So you can run from it all day long, but the truth says free. That's it. So how do they do this thing today? They throw men in jail. They throw a large number of men in jail and are showing the women, he can't protect you, because guess what? Now he's got a felony in his record. He can't get a gun. He can't get a high-paying job. So now it's your job. You have to protect your child because he can't protect him. He can't protect himself. He can't protect the wife. He can't protect nobody. He can't protect them. The same thing that was happening in Egypt. Kill the male, keep the female alive. Kill the sons, keep the female alive. We can use her for breeding. We can use her for breeding. The breaking process of the African woman. Take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. Right there. Right there. She is the most important factor for good. Let me read it again. Once my phone turns. Oh, I can read it this way. Never knew about that. She is the most important factor for good economics. So why do you think that they send these men to jail? The economic benefit is not through the man, because you need one man. You can have one man and 5 women, and he can keep impregnating. As long as he is trained and broken, you can keep him breeding. You can keep Pookie and Ray Ray breeding with these women, these independent, strong women, impregnating them, keeping the cycle going. The man's not the important factor. She is economically, which is why they give her the money, which is why child support, they give her the money, which is why she receives the Section 8 benefits, which is why, because that man, if he got hold of his children, he might just train his children about how jacked up this society is, because he's uncivilized, he's untrained. This is why, for those who don't know, I'm not going to tell you their names, but all of my children, their names start with the letters N-A. And people ask, what does that stand for? It stands for non-applicable, meaning your rules don't apply to me. How you decide to raise your children in this school system doesn't apply to me. I am non-applicable. Doesn't apply. That's why their names start with N-A. Those who don't know. Not just the ones I have with Zion, but the 3 that I had this marriage, their names start off with N-A, because it's non-applicable. Doesn't apply to me. I'm raising mine outside of Egypt. I'm teaching them the truth. That's right, and that's the absolute truth, Sister Angela. And they themselves, the system, they themselves, the master. I can't tell you how many slaves were brought into the master's house, and the master would sleep with her. And then, to avoid getting caught, he would either kill the slave or allow the slave to give birth, but immediately sell her and the baby off. Happened all the time. All the time. Let's continue. If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of resistance out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so, you spoil good economics. When in complete submission, she will train her offsprings in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the nigger female. They need to break the woman. This is why I saw 12 tribes that they emasculate the men. See, the let me not get ahead of myself. Let me slow down. Slow down. We have reversed the relationship in her natural, uncivilized state. See, in a woman's, how many in here have had to be told these stories of their family? That's right. That is right. How many have heard this? This is eye-opening to a lot of people. Like, wait a minute. So people, this system sat down. I dare you read the book of Yahshua, chapter 65, 66, 67. Pharaoh brings his wise men to him and says, what can we do to kill them, to stop them? They brought councils of great thinkers together to figure out how to kill the Hebrew male. And here we are, a man from West Indies giving a speech to slave owners. How do we keep them slaves? Let's get the great thinkers together. Let's formulate a plan. How do we keep these people as slaves? I like that. That is how pimps were born. That's exactly it. We reverse the relationship of her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized nigger male, and she would have had a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring, and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. Let's break that down real quick. Willie Lynch is saying we have reversed the relationship, the way a relationship goes. We reversed it. It's part of the plan. What a lot of people don't know, they don't know. A lot of these slave masters spent a lot of time in the Bible. You want to know why? Think of the movie. How many have seen the movie Book of Eli? Book of Eli. That man who wanted the Bible wanted it for one reason. He wanted it to control the people. That's the same thing. See, these movies give you clues and tidbits. That's the same thing the slave master wanted the Bible for. If I have the Bible and I read it and I know and I have the plan, it's the same thing pastors do today. Submit yourselves to me, submit 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 to me. What was that guy on the Book of Eli trying to do? Achieve power. He wanted power. He wanted ownership of everybody in his town. But he knew it was in the book. It was in the Bible. He knew the wisdom to control people was in the Bible. He knew it. Because if you take that book out of context, people will think they're serving the Most High Yah just like the slaves did. But in fact, they're only serving the will of the taskmaster. That's it. That's why in today's church, you see a lot of people, a lot of leaders who have that same Willie Lynch complex. That same, I rule, you are serfs, obey me. You see the same process take place. See, I was trained and I was taught things. I just wasn't taught by your normal, typical people. I wasn't taught by your normal, typical people. I was taught by people who had boots on the ground in many areas of this fight. So let's continue. That's the same thing people are doing today. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. Excuse me. Let's break down again. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on an uncivilized nigger male. They know that biblically, the woman had a dependency on her husband. He provides food, clothing, and conjugal rights. She's supposed to submit to him. He's supposed to protect her. He's supposed to provide for her. They know in her natural free state, before they got into her mind, she depended on the male, her father, as it says in Numbers 30, her father and her husband, the males in her life. She had a dependency on them. What did they do? And she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. See, the mother was to teach the young males to be dependent on the father, just like she was. It's like Zion and Rivka. They're teaching my sons to depend on me. Because if they're not depending on me, they're depending on somebody else to teach them. If you're not taught by your father, somebody is going to get into your mind and start messing around with your programming. Somebody's going to start programming you. Right. Right, Light One. So somebody's going to start tampering with the programming of your sons, which is why you see a lot of young boys now who are seeking to be dependent, but there's no fathers there because they stripped the father out of the house. So the sons who still have the tribal mindset join what are called gangs, Blood, Crip, GDs. They join sects. They join gangs because that is now what they become dependent on, because there's no father there to teach them. There's no father to teach them how to be raised up to be responsible, hardworking, faithful, obedient to Yah men. There's no fathers there. So young black boys grow up sagging pants. Now they're wearing skinny jeans all of a sudden. I mean, I saw pictures of them sagging their pants down to their knees. I'm like, what the hell? How do you run? Right, and they're pushing homosexuality. They're pushing all these deviant lifestyles that had an uncivilized, and what that means is an untrained by the system man. If you have a man that's untrained by the system, he's a danger to the economics of that system. Because see, if you as an untrained man say, you know what, I don't need the system, I want to come out. I'm not going to become dependent on welfare. I'm not going to become dependent on working for somebody else for my whole life, getting in debt, spending my whole life funding the economic system by paying on my school loans, paying on my house loan, paying on my credit card loans because I decided to get married and it cost $20,000, paying on paying all these loans. It's economics, and they need the male. That's right, the gang leader, the OG. He becomes the father figure. Right, then they sag with skinny jeans. So they knew you keep the system broken, as they said with their own lips. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized, when they say uncivilized, just think untrained by the system. We have reversed the relationship in her uncivilized, untrained state. She would have a strong dependency on the untrained, uncivilized nigger male. And she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. She would teach her sons, obey your father, which is exactly what the Bible says. Be dependent on your father. Learn from your father. That's what the mother was to teach her son. But by destroying the relationship, she is not teaching her sons to obey the father. What she's doing is teaching the sons to obey her. But a woman is incapable of raising a son into a man. That's why a lot of these young boys are highly emotional. You stepped on my shoes. Bop, 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 bop. You disrespected me. Bop, 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 bop. Killing people over emotions. getting all emotionally driven and riled up because somebody disrespected you. And what happens? That man, because he had his shoes stepped on, has now killed another man, usually a black man, killed him, and now he's going to jail. Guess what? He's now broken. He's that one that got torn in half, was lit on fire and torn in half. Why? Because when he comes out of prison, what prospects does he have? What prospect? Very few have the prospects. A lot of them go to prison and then have more time added onto their sentence while they're in prison. So what prospects does he have now coming out of jail with a felony? Let's say he caught another one in prison. Now he's got 2 felonies. He's coming out of prison with multiple felonies. What job prospects does he have? What prospects does he ever have of raising a family? None. Lost another man. So that man who was now trained by the system is now useful to breed with those uncovered females, providing more children. Right, emotional men are not raised by fathers most of the time. They're not. They're not. Let's continue. Nature had provided for this type of balance. They knew that nature's balance is for a young son to be under his father, which is why the court system immediately strips the child from the father and gives him to the mother, because they have the mother controlled. She is controlled. If you keep the child in the home of the father, that child may, that's what the Bible says. Can you get my apocrypha? We're reading the Willie Lynch letter. For those who don't know, this started because somebody came onto my channel and made a comment about comparing the death between Wendy Martinez, which is she got killed. She was jogging in a park in Washington D.C. and was killed by a black man. They were comparing that to the death of Ahmaud Arbery. But something very funny, they found the killer and had him arrested. Had him questioned and arrested 2 days after he committed the murder. The black guy who murdered the white girl, they had him 2 days after he committed the murder. Searched surveillance tapes and had him in custody 2 days after that black man murdered that white woman. These 2 guys, 2 months, were walking free. And the DA himself said, I don't know why. Let me be fine. Of course. Of course. Stay there, Mommy. You have to give me a second. I have to remember it. But there's a verse that says, when a man begats a son, he begats an avenger of him, of his enemies. So when a man begats a son, if somebody this is why when this country fights wars overseas, and this is why you can't win a war in the Arab countries, because if you kill an Arab father, that son immediately takes up the cause of his father. That son immediately says, well, you killed my father. Guess what? I am now your enemy. The Bible says when a father has a son, he has an avenger of his enemies. So if somebody wrongs that father, that son's going to raise up and is going to be trained already. Is already trained. I'm going to avenge my father if he is wronged. That's why you can't win the wars in the Middle East, because you would have to literally destroy the whole country, literally. And that's why they did that. That's why they try to destabilize it financially and destroy it, because every son that loses his father is going to be raised up fighting. That's why you have those 14-year-olds with AK-47s fighting against foreign invaders, because you killed my father. That's why those young sons do crazy crap. You killed my father. and now I am your enemy. But if you take the son from the father and give him to the mother, and the mother is repeatedly being heard, your father ain't shit, your daddy ain't shit, your daddy ain't shit, that son no longer wants to avenge his father. That son no longer wants his father. In fact, that son now hates his father. He hates his father. His father is now a hated man by his own son. Destruction of the balance of a family. When that son should be dependent on his father. Let's continue. Oh, wait. Nature had provided for this type of balance. We reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the others to the point of death. All in her presence. They do all this in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. See, all these independent, I'm an independent black woman, I'm independent. I'm independent. No, what you understand is it was planned for you to be independent because you're frozen. You are no longer a threat to them when you are an independent woman. What threat are you to them? What are you going to do? Except make them money. So you have a son. You raise him. He goes to jail. He's part of the prison industrial complex now. He's now making license plates. He's making them money. You have a son. You have no guidance. You have no one who is ahead to you. You have nobody to protect you. So what are you going to do? Which is why so many of our women talk down on their man like they are little boys. That's the truth. That is the truth, which is why a lot of black women today, Stockholm syndrome. That's exactly it. Need guidance. Shalom to you. Shalom, shalom. That's why a lot of these women today, what happens? A guy gets killed, a man gets killed, and what did as HOQ said, men are running, women are marching, no justice, no peace. How long are you going to march saying that? Nobody cares. You're a bunch of women. Not trying to be funny or anything, but all they have to do is open up a new weave shop with hair, and they got half of them. Open up a new type of hair, Bohemian, Colombian, Indian, Remy, and half of them are gone. Spending their economic, you remember it's all about economics. It's the same thing that these Chinese and Koreans do with these weave shops. Banking, billions being made off of whom? The black man or the black woman? These independent black women spending the last of their dollars financing an economic society. They hand out stimulus checks. Woo! I can get my nails did. Or dudes, I can get me a brand new TV. I can put rims on my car. I can get Jordans. I can look fly. Why don't you buy a pair of good boots? Why don't you invest in some land? Like the brothers did in Arizona. 9 of them came together, bought land. Why not that? Or 8 or 9 of them. Why not that? Instead, they are counting on you to feed the continual economic beast that is continuing to roll. That keeps on rolling. So when you are an independent woman, you're just frozen. They got you. Look at some of the most prominent independent black women. Look at Oprah, owned. She is owned. Independent. I ain't getting married. I don't need no man. Yes, you do. That's the tomfoolery. They knew that by shredding men in front of you, giving you the impression that you cannot be protected, what they did is they froze you. You remember the Bible says in Ephesians 5 that the husband is to nourish and cherish. Nourish, the word, is to bring up to maturity. They have stunted the majority of women's maturity, thinking that because they have their own job or have their own business and make their own money. And what are you feeding? What beast system are you feeding with that money? Zion got something to say. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the statement about Oprah, how she's been used with Oprah. I read an article talking about her and that man that she's with, that she was supposed to get married to. The reason for her not getting married is she said she wanted marriage. They were talking about marriage, and she realized she just wanted to be married, but she didn't want the responsibility of a wife. She said she learned that being married came with that a wife had a responsibility, and she was too independent to do that responsibility. So she said, "Oh, I realized I just like the idea of being with a man, but I don't want the duty of a wife to do what wives do. So I realized that I don't need to get married, so me and the man could be best friends and live as if we're married."
Stedman. It said Stedman.
Stedman.
Yeah, Stedman.
Yeah, her and Stedman can remain close, but he do what he wants to do, she do what she wants to do, but they can hang out together, do things like that. But she says she does not want to take on a responsibility as a wife.
And that's why a lot of women today, they get married but are still independent in their mindset, which is why they don't obey the scriptures. They're still independent up here, which means she's still frozen. There's no growth taking place in that woman. Her growth has been stunted. It's frozen. She's frozen. This was part of the plan. This was part of the plan. This is what they were teaching in Egypt. Kill the men, leave the women alive. They will be stunted. We can use these women, whether you like it or not. If you are an independent woman, you are frozen. You are not fighting anything except yourself, except your own, by nature, your own, what y'all put in you from the beginning. You're fighting that. Yeah, and you'll say, "Well, I'm independent, I'm strong," and I no, you're not. Listen, let me read that again, just so it's clear. We reversed nature, so they know what nature. These people are smart. People think that the enemy is a dumb enemy. The enemy is smart. He spends time watching you and learning you and how to affect you. Look at advertisements. They have spent time, ran social groups, ran think tanks, ran groups of genius people and trying to figure out how to sell you on an idea that sounds absolutely stupid. Think of that. I'm going to sell you on an idea, men, that you buying these $200 pair of shoes makes you more valuable as a man. But you don't know how to hammer. You don't know how to screw a screw into a wall. You don't know how to build nothing. The only thing you know how to do is walk around in shoes, and you're willing to kill somebody. You buy shoes that you don't even wear because you can't get them dirty. Economic warfare. They have just beat you economically. They teach women, no, hate your own hair. Buy this hair over here. This Indian, buy this hair that's been sacrificed to Hindu gods. Buy this hair. These women are sacrificing their hair to Hindu gods, and you're buying it in your pride. Which is why it's hard for our women to obey their heads. They subconsciously think, "Gosh, it's gone away." Like that? Uh-oh, I'm not even in my own screen. 1 second. They subconsciously think they are obeying a weakened race of men. Right. That's really why you won't obey. You won't obey because you actually believe your husband's weak. That's what you're saying. You're weak. You're too weak for me to obey. But let government tell me what to do, and I'll do it in a second. But you, I'm not obeying you. This plan is straight from the lips of Satan. Mommy, be quiet. Again, let me read it again. We reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. They wanted her independent of the male. That's why you see the court systems. That's all. This whole system is designed to get the female, and now it's permeating into to all the other people, and now they're up in arms. But see, we've been going through this for this is in 1712. 1712. A lot of people didn't experience this until the feminist movement came in. This was going on since 1712. This was the plan concocted to break apart the black family in 1712. By her being left alone, unprotected. Oh wait, I'll read it again. Unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. Oh. In her frozen independent state, this woman is going to raise her son to be infeminized and raise her daughter to be independent and masculine, which is why we see so many emotional men who are raised by mothers, and their daughters they have raised to be strong. You got to be strong. And what happens is that daughter then is, in her being raised independent, what happens to her is that she says, I don't need a man because I saw mama do it and she didn't need a man. And generationally, as we read from the beginning, throughout generations economically, they don't even have to do anything because the mother is teaching her daughter to be masculine and her son to be feminized. That's why you got these things that are happening. That's why you have these men who are men by title or men because they have something between their legs. That's why daughters look for men just like their mothers. Men. And feminized men who come in all suave and all that crap but can't build nothing. Has no nature in him to protect or defend. He sees women as disposable. That's why so many black men marry Asian. I have heard of that theory. I'm actually doing a study on that theory also. I know this is uncomfortable, but this is what I'm reading from online. You can look it up yourself. Willie Lynch PDF. Willie Lynch letter PDF. Right. When 12 tribes tell the truth. Men crying more than women. Women, castrated males. Women doing things and getting men killed. She goes off and runs her mouth, then goes and tells her baby daddy, because he's emotional, what you say? Goes out there and shoots somebody, kills that person, he's going to jail, and what does she do? I hate to be graphic, but all she does is hop on the next penis. Yes, the Willie Lynch letters. Sister Jasmine said, I was raised around ruthless men that also revered a tough sister. This was praised. I understand that. I understand that. It's okay, Brother Alex. It's okay. See, this whole plan, again, read Jasher chapter 66 and 67, and where Balaam of Beor was talking to Pharaoh and telling Pharaoh how to destroy the Hebrews. It's interesting. He only wanted to destroy the Hebrew males, but keep the little girls alive. because you can train them. Brother Corey said, Chris, my father died. My father's brother died like that. Died like that. Over a woman. Shot, most likely. Over a woman. When the Bible clearly tells us in Ecclesiastes 25, a woman goes not as thou wouldst have her, cut her off from that flesh, give her a bill of divorce, and let her go. You see men today destroying themselves over a controlled by the system woman. Jack Johnson, shalom, brother. Exactly. Generational curse. Now you're singing. Now, does this letter that you're hearing now line up with Deuteronomy 28? You're starting to hear the resemblances now between Deuteronomy 28 and this letter? For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. This is written in 1712. In the young males, or for fear of losing him. So for fear of her son being psychologically and physically strong, which then makes him the uncivilized nigger, the untrained nigger, she doesn't want to lose that because she has seen that throughout lifetime where the strong men were destroyed. So she intentionally keeps her young sons weak, psychologically weak. She keeps him mentally weak because she's afraid of losing him if he ever got strong. If he gets strong, the system may go after him. So let me take that down. Let me keep him mentally and psychologically weak, but physically strong. And where do you see a lot of that taking place? Let me just say, professional sports. You see a lot. Exactly. Southern hospitality. Facts. That's why we see these tutti frutti youngsters now. That's exactly why we see these young men just complete fruitcakes, walking down the street with cherries and apples and strawberries just falling behind them. Just fruitcakes. Absolute fruitcakes. That's exactly it, brother Alex. You've seen it. It's those psychological weaknesses that get these young men in trouble because they're young and weak in the mind, so they can't say no. They're impressionable. They're seeking a tribe. They're seeking a father figure, a place to be dependent. Guess who steps in? OG. He steps in now. He becomes that young man's father figure. He becomes that young man's father figure. Now, I have had father figures like that. I have had father figures like that. One of the most prominent men, for those of you who are on my Facebook, who I respect, is my basketball coach. In line one. my college basketball coach. He helped me understand a lot of the things that I didn't understand. He was a white man, and he helped me understand. He taught and spoke to me in a way that I needed to be spoken to, so that I could rise out from the bondage that I was in. He helped me greatly. Greatly. I came in, and for those of you who are on my Facebook, you've seen them on my comment section. I came in, this guy wearing all red. That's all I cared about was wearing red. And he basically showed me that that's stupid. It's stupid. You're married. You have children. What are you doing? What do you do? You're wasting your life. You're a good basketball player. You're a good student. You're a good father. And you're wasting it. Gonna get yourself shot and killed. Over what? Sure, be yourself. Be you. But why do you got to have all that? Who's going to take care of your children and your wife if you get gunned down over a color? Well, let's ask, Mr. Arbery that question. Who got gunned down over a color? It just wasn't a color he was wearing. It was a color that he couldn't change. His skin color. go back. For fear of the young man's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, not on her father, but on her likely. And if he's dependent on her, then he's also dependent on the people that she's dependent to, the system. Yes, Southern hospitality. I have seen that, where mothers treat their sons like they're married to them, like they are their boyfriends. And I was telling them, they dress them up like Barbie dolls. I don't understand that idea. You have a young boy, and you're dressing your young boy up in clothes that he has no idea what he's wearing. You're buying baby Jordans for your, again, the battle's about economics. They're going to give you money so you can spend on some baby Jordans for your son, dressing him up like a Barbie doll. Dressing him up. Put on a pair of shoes that he's going to outgrow in 15 minutes. Teaching him at an early age, from birth, that it's not about the content of your heart. It's not about how hard you can work. It's not about loving the Most High Yah, loving your brothers, loving the strangers that have come to serve Yah with you. It's not about that. What it's about is how good you can look. So that when you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you're already a father. You ain't even ready. You're barely ready to start being a son and learn at the feet of your father, but instead you're already being a father. So we have a little boy raising a son with his 16-year-old girlfriend raising a son. We don't know how that's going to turn out. I wear steel-toed boots daily, so you know. That says everything. That says everything. The fact that you wear boots says everything. Today, in a lot of the inner cities, they think boots are a fashion statement. They buy work boots as a fashion statement, so they can walk around in $150, $200 work boots. And if they get a scuff on their steel-toed work boots, they're upset. I'm like, it's steel-toed. They're supposed to get scuffed. They're supposed to get beat up. These shoes were made to get beat up, not as a fashion statement. Your outfit costs more than I paid monthly for my land. Your outfit costs more than some people's rent. You see, the economic warfare that they taught in 1712 to keep a slave, to control black folk. And now this plan has been exercised over everybody. They said, okay, we got them. We got the test group. Now let's roll this out for everybody now. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to become psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. Oh my gosh. Did you hear that? This has been their plan from the beginning. Get the female out front. What does the Bible say? What? Zion. So, for the love of Yah, find the verse. As for my people, women shall be there. Find it. I need it quick. Thank you. Again. Because she has become psychologically independent, the whole point is to get the woman psychologically independent of the nigger male. Get her independent of that. Brother Malak said Isaiah 3. Get her independent of the nigger male, but dependent on the master, the system. That's how when I'm independent, I'm strong. No, you're just controlled. You're just controlled. You're frozen. And this is what you're going to raise your daughter to do. She will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent as well. All right. Okay, Can you come behind the camera and read it? Listen to this verse. Let me read this section, and then she's going to read the verse. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. Go ahead and read it. Say it loud, please.
Okay. My people.
My people.
Wait, let me go to King James.
This is Yah speaking.
As for my people.
As for my people.
Children are their oppressors.
Children are their oppressors.
And women rule over them.
And women rule over Yah's people, the men.
O my people.
O my people.
They which lead thee.
They which are leading you where?
Cause thee to err.
Cause thee to error.
And destroy.
And destroy.
The way of thy path.
The way of thy path. They mentioned it. The natural state. Yah's natural path. Yah's natural state. The people that are leading are causing you to error. How are they causing you to error? Because she has become psychologically independent. She will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. Have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. He is now scared to be a man. He is scared to speak. He is scared of everything. He's scared of his own, but he's not scared to kill his own people. He's scared of everybody else. He's scared of the boogeyman. He's scared of buying land and setting forth on the vision that the Most High Yah has given him. Why? Because he's behind and scared. He needs the woman to go out front and do the work. You go out front, I'm scared. I'm scared to go out there. I experienced this training. I experienced this. Following show at one point was not a good guy, so I was on probation. And I was scared to do certain things, even though it was not illegal, a recycling business. I was scared to do it because I was afraid of them calling the cops on me. And I got called them all the time. So I got scared. I said, Zion, you go ahead and do it. I want to sit back because I'm scared because they keep calling the cops on me. Every time I go out there, the cops are called. Then eventually something snaps inside your head. That old training that I had, that old training that was instilled inside of me kicked back in. I said, you know what? I don't give a flying. You are not going to intimidate me. Tell me about it. They hard-headed and tell me she didn't read anything unless, is the comment up?
Yes, Master.
Can you read the rest of this comment?
He said, tell me about it. They hard-headed had one tell me she didn't read anything unless she had to. I just shook my head and walked off. Dummy. Okay.
Right, the dummy. The old paths. That's right, Southern Hospitality. The old paths. You see, because of the fear, this is why men have no problem staying on the reservation. Because there's that fear. This is why I get contacted. The sisters get contacted by more sisters asking, how do I convince my husband to leave the city? How do I convince my husband to come out of her? How do I convince my husband to leave that? How do I convince my husband? It's the women asking, can we get out? And the husband's scared. Well, what about this and what about that and what about this? Again. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. This is a perfect situation of sound sleep and economics. They knew it. You remember, in the beginning we read that you can't leave the untrained black man, nigger, you can't leave the untrained one alone because he will try to come up in your house and kill you. So you have to train him. So how do they train him? It's the same tactic that Satan used. Get Eve. Get Eve. Get her in an uncovered state and attack her. And in turn, she will attack the person that she's supposed to be dependent on. She will now see herself as her protection. He said, let them perish, let them starve and perish in the city, so be it. This is what it is. This is exactly what it is. This plan is nothing new. Egypt was doing it. Egypt was using this same exact method in destroying the Hebrew males in read Joshua 65, 66, and 67. I'm going to keep pushing that on how Pharaoh went to his counselors to seek wisdom on how to kill the Hebrew men. This is a perfect situation of sound sleep and economics. Before the breaking process, we had to be alertly on guard at all times. Let me change the page. It gets even deeper. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. So I don't want to hear no more crap about the independent strong. They basically just called you, the system, the master, just called you independent single woman, his watchdog. The master called you that. The system called you that. You are his watchdog. Now we can sleep soundly. This is Willie Lynch. For out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. His woman is now the guard for the system. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He cannot get past the training that we put inside of her. He can't get past it. No matter what he does, he cannot get past her training that we instilled in her as a slave. She thinks she's operating by her own volition, her own idea. No, this is just the training we put in her. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied to the horse at a tender age. By the time a nigger boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force. You hear that? Continually, through the breaking of uncivilized, or as I call them, untrained, savage niggers, by throwing the nigger female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence, by killing off the protective male image, and by creating a submissive, dependent mind of the nigger male slave, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the position of the male and female slaves. So in case the only way to break that cycle is if something happens that reestablishes the male back in his place. If that does not happen, the cycle continues on forever. As Jack Johnson said, generational curses. The generational curse continues on forever. Forever. Right, come out of her. We know, we show what we mean by example. Take the case of the two economic slave units and examine them closely. Listen to this. The nigger marriage. We breed two nigger males with two nigger females. Then we take the nigger males away from them and keep them moving and working. The Israelites before the curses were the fiercest military fighting force on the planet. One will send 1,000 to flight, two, 10,000. Tell the truth. This is why Pharaoh was scared. This is why the North knew in order to win this war, we must destabilize the South by freeing the slaves and then encouraging them to fight for us. There were soldiers' diaries, Northern and Southern soldiers' diaries, who said that the freeing of the slaves was the single most important thing, not because of the loss of labor force, but because when they went to fight, it changed the whole war. The same system. Think of fierce fighting units. Think of the Tuskegee Airmen. How many bombers did they lose in World War II when they were escorting? How many? There's some history you can look at. They didn't lose a single bomber because they would risk their own life to protect the mission. Thank you, Brother Malak. Zero. They lost 0 bombers that they were escorting during World War II because they saw the end goal, which is them dropping those bombs safely. Protection. The protection. They protected the bomber crews. There were white men who gave testimony. Those were the fiercest and scariest men that I saw fly planes. Scariest men. When they flew with a mission, with a purpose, and they got us to our bombing destination and escorted us back. But, you don't really hear about that in your history books because, it's not really popular. You don't hear about the Tuskegee experiment trials when they were injecting black men with syphilis to see what would happen to them. You don't really hear about that either. Let's continue. We then take the nigger males away from them and keep them moving and working. Say one nigger female bears a nigger female and the other bears a nigger male. Both nigger females being without influence of the nigger male image, frozen within independent psychology, will raise their offspring in reverse positions. So this even extends to marriage. Without the image of the man able to protect his wife, she will undoubtedly be trained to raise her children in reverse roles. Why do you think it is that in the black family and now in every family, they remove the man out of the house because they know that people are going to reverse their sons to be women? They may even go to the physical deed. Well, my son's always liked playing with Barbie dolls, so I don't see any problem with getting him a sex change. His name was Sal, now it's Sally because he's always liked Barbie dolls. That man was probably raised without a father. The one with the female offspring will teach her to be like herself, independent and negotiable. we negotiate with the master, negotiates with her, through her, by her. We negotiate her at will. They know they own the woman. The one with the nigger male offspring, she being frozen with a subconscious fear for his life, will raise him to be mentally dependent and weak, but physically strong. In other words, body over mind. What we heard in the beginning, destroy his mind, but keep his body intact, because he's a good slave. He can work. We just don't want him thinking. We don't want him thinking. Now, in a few years, when these two offspring become fertile for early reproduction, we will mate and breed them and continue the cycle. That is good, sound, and long-range comprehensive planning. It's a plan. So when you read this word, the Bible, if you go against it, understand, you go against Yah's ordained natural order, understand, you are going against the very thing that you say you believe in. You say, I believe in Yah, I'm his. How can you say you're his if you in any way participate in this sort of psychological, mental destruction? This plan was contrived by Satan on how to make a slave. And then he goes further into it. But I encourage every one of you, download the Willie Lynch letter PDF. White, black, Asian, Mexican. Okay, and every other, Indian, Taiwanese, everybody. Download it. It should hit you. If you are a person, a black person, black, it should hit you. Now, start reading the book of Joshua. Read 65, 66, 67. See what Pharaoh's men were doing to try and kill the Hebrew men. If you are a person who is not black, if you're a white person, understand this is what was written to control slaves. So what you see a lot of today is not, oh, they're just this, that, and the other. This is what they were trained to do and trained to be by a society that had a long-term plan, by a master, by a system that since 1712 had this plan in effect. Since 1712, 308 years, this plan has been in effect. Keeping slaves as slaves. If you don't know history, that's right, tribal lady. You are doomed to repeat. And most people don't know history, so they're not able to break out of it. Those that are saying we are first generation patriarchs, what we're doing, the key word, patriarch. Once again, HOQ apparel. You can find these t-shirts on HOQ apparel. When we say first generation patriarch, it's taking back who we were supposed to be. The protector, the provider, the lover, the teacher, the guider, the elder, the leader. We're taking that back. And I understand there's going to be a lot of fearful ones. Because a lot of these women are trying their best to keep their men, to keep their sons not strong. You're not keeping them strong. You're not promoting strength in them. You're keeping them weak. Don't rock the boat. If you rock the boat, right, here's baby Badger. If you rock the boat, then you could become an enemy of them. If you rock the boat, then I'm scared for your life. Yes, yesterday, fake book, I wrote about people claiming to love the Most High but not changing for him. That's the truth, enlightened one. That's the truth, brother. First, lead your home with the guidance of Yah. That's where the guidance needs to be. See, everything that you're hearing in this letter, you can tell almost like they read the Bible and said, how can we jack this book up and take the power from the men? This is why the Bible, I only have my pocket for right now. This is why the Bible is the answer to all of this. The book is the answer. If you can read and understand through wisdom and through the Holy Spirit what Yah is saying in this book, this letter has an even more profound effect on your thought process and the way you think. It should offend you. If you are a woman and you are operating in a frozen independent state, this is why the Bible says what it says about marriage. It's because Yah he did not create you to be a frozen independent person. He created you to be dependent on your husband, on your father first, Numbers chapter 30, and then your husband. He created you for that purpose, to be a rib. To be a rib. To raise your sons in the role of being sons, not raising your sons to play Call of Duty. Raising your sons to learn how to build. It's fundamental in the man to build. A man builds his family. A man builds his house. A man builds his lands. A man is a builder. How are these men going to build if they don't have anybody teaching them how to build? A mother, as much as I honor you mothers, you can't teach a son how to build a family. A lot of people don't read and research to understand. Most just regurgitate what they hear from the next person and so on. Right. How are you going to build? They said that the whole point was to destroy the natural order. The whole point was to destroy the family unit. Brother Jamil, he said, I see what you mean about the cupcakes, brother. Brother Jamil, can you write what you see in the picture of the cupcakes, which is the screenshot that I used for this video? Us brothers have talked about it, and then Zion posted in the sisters chat, and they talked about it. What do you see, Brother Jamil? I want to know what you see. For those of you that know, please don't post it. But what do you see, brother? It's a perfect plan. If you think about it, this is why I respect the enemy. This is why you got to have respect for your enemy. That's an ingenious plan that it's still in effect and working today. There's nothing new under the sun, as Ruka just said. There's nothing new under the sun. This ain't new. This plan was done thousands of years ago to destroy a people, and it's still in effect today. To destroy a people, and then to destroy everybody else. If you dare, as a white person, cleave to truth. Let me see. Yes, they put all the butterflies. Let me go back. Let me go. Yes, they put all the butterflies on the yellow colored cupcakes. The dark ones are without one. That's the point of the picture. All of the white cupcakes have crowns and butterflies. The dark cupcakes don't. In fact, I called Walmart's. And did you know those are two different trays of cupcakes? Every Walmart that I called that had cupcakes were all the same. The white ones had the designs, the frillies, the rings, the butterflies, the crowns. The chocolate ones didn't. So when you think about psychological warfare, believe me, it's trained from an early age. Israelite Pepper posted up a video of little black children having a white doll and a black doll. If somebody has that link, can you post it in the chat, please? And every one of the black children were choosing Which one's ugly? They would point at the black doll. Which one is do you hate playing with? They point at the black doll. Which one is this? They point at the black doll. Which one is beautiful? They point at the white doll. Which one do you like the most? They point at the white doll. These are dark skinned, beautiful children who had already been taught. Some of them couldn't have been any older than 5. Already taught to hate themselves. Then they asked them, which one looks like you? And they pointed at the black doll. They had already been taught self-hate. They had already been taught to hate themselves. That's right, New World. That's right. That's why I posted that picture up. He said, I don't like chocolate cupcakes. People don't like this sort of stuff. They think it's just a random, oh, I can't post the web address, dang it. I know, yeah, usually, dang it. Can you post it? And then instead of putting like the .com, there it is, Zion got it up. All right, she's the moderator. Look up that video. Look at that video. See, people don't like the truth. People don't like what is truth. I will admit truth. I will strive for it. It hurts people's feelings. People think that things are just done any way, that there's not a rhyme or a reason for it. Oh, there's a rhyme. And there's a reason. No, it's intentionally done for a reason. It's psychological. So when you go and choose a cupcake, you're choosing the one that has, especially children, you want to choose the one that has a nice little frilly ring on top. You're looking at the ring. You're looking at the ornament. You want the ornament. Psychologically, you're being trained, and even if you don't want to admit it, you are psychologically being trained to see the white cupcakes as the ones with the highest advantage. The chocolate cupcakes, well, they don't have rings. They don't have the extra little doodad on top of it. Jamil, brother Jamil, if you go there, and if you can, please post it in this comment section. In fact, I implore anybody, go to your Walmart. Right. People will say the vanilla ones taste better. People don't understand the mind. The mind. Our babies think they are ugly. Sad video, but so real. It is. It breaks my heart. I think that everybody should love the way they look. I don't see any problem with it. If a white person loves the way he looks, I say more power to you. I believe you should have that for yourself. I have it for myself. It shouldn't be a problem. It should not be a problem. Everybody should love the way they look. But why are certain people being told and trained that you are not as beautiful? The chocolate cakes will likely be left behind. I don't know. As Zion was saying, as we were talking about it here, this is why there's an extreme importance of coming out of her. How many children go to school birthday parties or whatever, where they bring cupcakes? Let's say somebody shopped at Walmart and brought the cupcakes. All the vanilla cupcakes are going to be gone. A lot of the chocolate ones are going to be left because the people are going to look at the little frilly ornament on top of the cupcake. That's right. He created it all. So I don't have a problem with color. I have a problem with people that have a problem with the truth. That's where I have my problem. And that's why I watch people. When incidents like this happen, I watch. And people say it's no big deal. It's no big deal to you because you're the cupcake with the butterfly and the crown on it. But if you're not that cupcake, you see a difference. You see the difference. A lot of things, if you don't experience it, You'll never know. You will never know. Ever. Even come close to understand. Come close to it. You will never get it. Experience is a great teacher. Jack Johnson, social engineering goes on so many levels. Once you are trained what to watch for, it's all in plain sight. That's the truth, my brother. And see, and I don't know if Jack Johnson's white or black, but I call him brother because like precious faith. If you admit the truth and you serve Yah, you are my brother. But if you hide from the truth, we're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. The Willie Lynch letter is one of the most profound things. If you sit that down, I would encourage every family to sit down, white, black, or whatever. Teach your children the truth. Teach them real history.
Did you see Alex Vaz?
No, what he said?
He said he's sitting down with his wife and they're going to
Hallelujah, brother Alex. It's a powerful letter of people that were already, and I didn't read the whole thing. There's way more to it. They talk about pitting the light skin versus the dark skin. The big black guy versus the small black guy. You do whatever you can to find differences in them and exploit the differences between them and have them going against each other. If you have them fighting each other and tailing on each other, and as they said, having the black woman being the watchdog for the master, if you have that, that's exactly why. Field Negro, house Negro. Listen to Malcolm X. Listen to his speech. Field Negro, house Negro. The field Negro, the house Negro, when the master's house was burning down, he'd be trying to put out the fire more than the master would. The house Negro, when the master got sick, the house Negro associated himself with the master, with the system. He didn't say, "Oh, master, are you sick?" He said, "Master, we sick." He and his master were one and the same. If the field Negro went to the house Negro and said, "Let's run away. Let's separate. Let's separate from this." The field Negro said, "Wait a minute, where am I going to find food like this? Where am I going to wear clothes like this?" You hear it today. Where am I going to have a business like this? Where am I going to make good money like this? He can't separate the house Negro. He can't separate from the master because that's where he gets his benefits. He's reliant upon the master to bestow, just as William Wallace said in Braveheart, groveling from the scraps of Longshanks' table. Yes, Corey, it's these damn allergies. It's the oat pollen. It's been destroying me. So people can't fathom the idea of leaving the reservation, leaving the city. Because the city's where the system is. That's where the master is. The master's in the city. That's where everything that I know is. My psychological training told me that if I leave this system, I won't be able to survive. I won't make it. So now you have black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian, everybody's dependent on the system. Everybody's dependent on the reservation. Everybody's dependent on it. They won't come out of it. They won't separate because they're just good house Negroes. Then there's the field Negro. In his mind, that's the untrained one that we read in the Willie Lynch letter. The one that did not want to be there. He was always plotting how to get out. Always finding out a plan. How am I going to run? How am I going to leave the plantation? How will I ever achieve freedom? And today, a lot of us now, black folk, you're in it, but a lot of people of the strangers are starting to understand that I don't want to be part of this system anymore. I see the wickedness, the sin. I see it. I don't want to be part of it anymore. But when they start leaving, what happens? The woman, oftentimes, I know a brother right now, the woman, the watchdog, is making sure he keeps his ass right there. You keep your ass right here doing what you've been doing. Other brothers, caught in bondage, can't leave the system, are completely dependent on it. Completely. They have become frozen. Yes, ma'am, Sister Amy. They have become, men have become frozen. They can't move now like they need to. They have to operate within their training, how they've been taught. Because if you separate, if you make any real moves in your life, you'll be scared, fearful, completely fearful. So I encourage everybody, download the full version of the Willie Lynch letter. Read how the enemy talks about exploiting. Yes, Sister Amy, control. Brother Corey, yes, that is guerrilla pimping. Read it. Meditate on it. Think on it. Learn history. Apply it to the Bible. Apply it to Satan's plan. Apply it to what Egypt did to the Hebrew people. Apply it to what we are seeing today in this current atmosphere. I saw HOQ said it's like this COVID-19 situation. Damn it, now I'm really demonetized. It's just like that. It's just like that. This video is one of those videos. You all know I never ask you to share. If you are going to share anything, share this one so that people, or just share the Willie Lynch letter. Now, if you want them to hear the breakdown, share the breakdown. I can go deep. We discussed this for about 3 or 4 hours here. I want people to know the truth. It's not good enough to just grab your Bible and start reading, because the Bible is a history book. You must understand the fullness of history. You must understand, and so many people today don't want to know the truth, or don't care about the truth. They want Yahshua without truth. When Yahshua said himself, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father but by me. If Yahshua himself is the truth, and the Holy Spirit is the spirit of truth, and the law is truth, then why would you not care to hear the fullness of it? To hear how Satan's plan has been manifested throughout generations, throughout the history of man. Why would you not want to hear that? And Southern Hospitality said, nothing is new under the sun. Let me show that. Let me show that. Right, men need to learn not to be a puppet for anyone. The letter broke my heart. When I first read it, it was hard to hear, so I listened to the readout version. It is hard to hear. It's hard to read this thing like, wait a minute. So they systematically planned over the course of generations. And you'll read it. He says, Willie Lynch, if you apply this right, you will not have a worry for 300 years. For 300 years, you won't have to have a worry. It'll become self-evident, and it'll work itself without you having to put any input anymore into it. And look at society today. There is very little input needed for this mechanism to continue to keep rolling. There is no input needed. There doesn't need to be any input. It's rolling by itself. It's become self-evident. Most people say that's old history. It doesn't apply anymore. And that's why I made sure that I broke it down. And I can go further. I'm not going to. But I can break this thing down. I can break down the Willie Lynch letter down to I can go in a chapter and verse showing it. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do a live stream on it. Well, I will go into Jasher, into the Apocrypha, into the King James Version of the Bible, or the Scriptures version of the Bible, breaking this thing down. And it'll let you know, those people in that land, Israel, they cannot be. because they do not fit the book. Part 2 is a must. Okay. I will do part 2. I will do part 2.
Part 2 is a must?
Yeah. Some just don't understand the psychological mindset genetically in the different race culture of people and the privilege that they have and use. We understand and see it because we grew. That's the truth. See, I'm not preaching victimhood. I'm not saying I'm a victim. You've never heard me say that. In fact, I live this way so that I don't become a victim. I live this way so that I never am a victim. But you have to understand, when a plan to this degree is executed over the mind of Black people, you're going to achieve results. How do you know that? This same plan, I like what I'm going there, because this same plan has been enacted now on white people, and they are seeing the result of the very same plan, just not to the degree, because the system still sees us as 3/5 of a person. Because we grew up dealing with it in the negative, receiving in. But many others don't until the injustice is happening to them and they get upset and say it ain't right. And he posted a link there. That's the truth. Most people don't ever, that's why I said experience. Most people don't understand. See, now when people are losing their rights because of COVID-19, now people are losing their damn mind. But see, being locked down, not having the freedom to move, to roam, has been something that Black folk have lived for countless amounts of years. Now when others start to see it and feel it, now when people of other colors experience the rebellious woman who takes all your money and is now the watchdog for the system, we've been going through this. She's now being trained under the same idea that has been used against people of color for how long? For how long? This is the truth. See, I can build my channel. I do prepping videos. I do builds on gardening because I'm here to help as many people as I possibly can. But if you don't want to hear the truth, then I would suggest you don't ever tune in to a 6-day or 7-day night a live stream. Just watch the other videos. Be content where you are. But there is going to start being more of this sort of truth talked about. If other people can esteem their culture, then why can't I? If people can, and I love Pastor Fox, but if he can esteem his biking culture, why can't I esteem mine? If people can esteem their German heritage, Irish heritage, then why can't I esteem mine? Lake Lady, yes, ma'am. If the truth is that important, what you have to determine is this. Do you want all the truth? Or do you want just the truth that makes you feel good? The fuzzy stories. Is it really enough to know there was slavery? Don't you want to know what happened? How it affected people? I did. That's why I've studied so many things. The real life of William Wallace. The real life, not the theatric version. The real life of William Wallace. Robert the Bruce. The real story of Braveheart. I want to know history. I want to know the truth. What I look at and tell you should not watch stories like Roots or The Birth of a Nation. I encourage you, understand these things. Watch Rosewood. Watch Rosewood. Watch Glory. about the 54th Massachusetts. It's got Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman. It's one of my favorite movies. Matthew Broderick's in it. Watch these movies. Learn something other than what we are taught. Because this, what we read, should cause us to then go and study. The Azuki, I didn't know that. Brother Jamil, I did not know that. Let me see what Enlightened One said. I'm way behind. They call it racist when we love or esteem our own culture with vigor. Right. Right. If we esteem our culture, we're considered racist. If I say black power, you're racist. No, because you can say white power, I don't care. Say it. White power. Okay, cool. Black power, white power. We both believe in our culture and heritage. But I will speak out against my own destructive culture and heritage. Therefore, you should be as adamant to speak out against your destructive culture and heritage. That's truth. That's righteousness. That's justice. We should be able to speak out against the negative and esteem the positive. The same way you should be able to speak out against your negative and esteem your positive. See, but we don't have that. Right, all power. Well, I have no problem with people who have power to, hey, have it. Have it. I have no problem with that. None. But don't then call me racist or a threat if 50 men with AR-15s can be on the steps of a Capitol or in the Capitol and not be considered a threat. Then why is it that one black person running is a threat? You should not see 50 black men with AR-15s and AK-47s as a threat then. You shouldn't. If we were chilling and holding our firearms or protesting something, nobody should see that as a threat. Because those men in Michigan weren't considered threats. They weren't considered threats. They're standing up for what they believe in. But yeah, if I stand up for what I believe in, then suddenly I'm a threat. I have to be watched. I have to be monitored. They got to fly helicopters around me. They may cordon off the whole block. They're definitely going to have cops with guns out there because we never know. You want to know why they don't know? Because there's uncivilized, uncontrolled, untrained by the system niggers over there with guns. The same way they considered the Black Panther Party a threat. The same way they considered them a threat. The same way. This is when that equality idea gets tested. People say, you're equal just like we are. Oh, then I should be able to do the same exact thing. And the reaction should be the exact same from the system. If the reaction is one iota different, then you can't say we're equal. You can't. They approve in KKK culture, so we should sound the shofar in ours. Right. Right. I implore you, watch Rosewood. Black folk, white folk, any folk. Watch Rosewood. Watch it. Watch what happened because of a lie of a woman who was white, who was in adultery, who got beat by the white guy that she was in adultery with. But then when she had to confront her husband, said it was a black guy. And then after you watch it, read the story. There's more details in the story. Watch how she said it was a nigger who did it. And because of her words, every white person in the town knew that it was a white guy. Because some of them had been with her. They knew it was a white guy who did it. But she said it was a nigger. So they ran around lynching black folk. Curses anyone who hangs from a tree. They were lynching black folk. They had to run. They were getting burned out of their houses, shot dead in the streets, hung once they were caught, beat by hundreds of people that knew she was raped by a white guy. Or, I mean, not raped, that she was beat by a white guy after she had sex with him. They knew it. And still, they went around killing black folk. There was just an article that said that 3 women from that lineage had just received some sort of reparations for what happened. Where's the justice in that? All these innocent people died, hung, killed, dismembered. See, people don't know history. They don't understand the whole idea of cutting the ears off black folk. Cut their ears off. Used to cut their penises off when they were still alive. Used to hang them and then swing them as a joke. Used to have family gatherings. Children are out there. Then drag the body through the town. Then light it on fire after he's dead. Watch Rosewood. Watch Glory. Watch. Oh, go ahead. I want to say something. And yes, I am speaking with a fervor because if we're going to have truth, let's have some real truth. Let's stop trying to chase all these other things. Oh, remember the Holocaust. Yeah. Remember the Holocaust of black folk. Remember that. Think on that. Go to the Museum of Tolerance in LA. If you're in LA, if you have a Museum of Tolerance around, these are the places my mom took me. Museum of Tolerance. Remember how the Irish are treated. That's why I said study all forms of history. All forms. That's what I do. Zion, go ahead.
I was gonna say, in Rosewood, the woman who was raped, who said was a black man, you see the town people gather and say, we already know it ain't no black man, and know that this woman sleeps around. Everybody knew she was committing it. Everybody done been with this woman. But it gave them an excuse to do what was already in their heart.
Yeah, and Yah says, what's
a wicked man finds an excuse according to his will.
A wicked man finds an excuse according to his will. They wanted to already do this thing. So what you are seeing, those 30,000 people on the page, those 2 guys that killed the Arbery Jogging, and those 30,000 people, those 30,000 people are just showing what's in their heart. This is what they want to do. There's no way around it. This is what they want to do already.
And I was going to say, leak it to exactly where you're going, Master, that all these other people trying to, instead of dealing with the situation at hand, case by case, all these people are trying to draw the attention away. Well, what about this black guy who killed this white woman?
Right.
Not to say this is not that important, because it is.
It's wicked. He should have died.
This is wickedness. He should have paid the cost.
Yep.
However, they draw the attention away because really what happened to the white woman is just an excuse for the people who are still racist, not all, but the white folks that are still racist who just want to kill black people. It gave them a reason to do what they wanted to do anyways. It just gave them a reason. And you know, if you just go around and start killing people, everybody's gonna know, okay, it's a problem. So you just wait for a reason. Remember when they killed the white woman?
Yep.
And it just gives you a reason to act what you really want to do in the first place.
You should watch the interview that the sheriff did in Rosewood, who happened to be the same guy that played Merle in The Walking Dead.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, him. Daryl's brother. But that sheriff, who was clearly racist,
yes,
he said after he played that role in Rosewood, there's an interview, like an hour-long interview with him, he broke down and cried. He said because playing that role, he said, getting in the role of it and playing the role of someone who is doing something wrong, knowing it's wrong, that's leading to the death of innocent people. He said, playing that role, he said, it changed my life forever. I will never see slavery how I used to see it. Because when you play the role and you know, even though in your mind, I don't believe this, but I am acting out the role, intentionally hunting out black people to kill them because that's the role I'm playing in this movie. He said it changed his role forever. Forever. And then he went and played The Walking Dead. A racist guy in The Walking Dead. It's amazing. Oh, wait. Chris, the Indianapolis Police Department just killed a man, shot him 9 times there in broad daylight here in Indy. I have to go read the story now. I'm gonna go and look that one up now. I'm gonna go look that one up. Strange fruit, that's right. Lake lady, strange fruit. Or funny fruit. This is the history that people, you can't run from it. You can't. You must accept. I must accept. I said this yesterday. I must accept the sins of my forefathers so that I can repent for the sins of my forefathers. And I must not ever reap the benefits from of my forefathers that were sin. This applies to everybody. If you say you are Yah's and you keep his law and his commandments, you have to really look into your heart and ask yourself this question. Am I comfortable not knowing the full, complete truth of people that I see are being systemically destroyed? Are you comfortable with that? See, I wasn't. So I sought truth. I went and studied, and I'm still studying all sorts of different cultures. I am now in the process of studying the Asian, Chinese specifically, culture. Trying to understand some of the things that they believe and how control is so easy for them to give up. I'm studying that. What happened through their timeline? I mean, we know about Mao Zedong, but what happened systemically through their timeline that has them at a point now where they're willing to accept their servitude? These things are taught generationally. People say, well, blacks are just savages. No. Again, we just read in the Willie Lynch letter. We protected our families. We protected our families. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't people who are criminals and do wicked ass crap. Yeah, hell yeah. There's always gonna be wicked people. There are people throughout the Bible who were wicked. Judas set up the death of Yahshua. There was always gonna be wicked people of every color. But why is it that people, they dodge certain stories because it may directly affect them? The churches have corrupted the minds of a lot of Gentiles also, that they think they will not face the Most High's punishment. Right. Read the story, I dare you, of Joseph and Jasher, where the Most High destroyed the preps of the Egyptians. So you don't see that in the King James Version. The reason why Pharaoh was able to buy up, or Joseph was able to buy up all of Egypt, including the people there in Egypt, is because when those people open up their storehouse doors, in the book of Jasher, when they open up their storehouse doors, there were rats and rodents in their preparations. Even though Joseph told them to prepare, their preparations were being destroyed by rats and rodents. It was not fit for food. So they too had to sell themselves to bondage. The churches are the main distraction. You remember when we read in the Willie Lynch letter, it said that the frozen independent woman, the frozen independent woman, who are, I'm sure white people, brothers and sisters, can answer this question. The black church, who is it filled more with? Black men or black women? Who fills the black church up the most? Black men or black women? Let's see. What are the answers? And there must be a delay. We got 2 answers. We got 3 answers. We got 6 answers. Everybody knows the answer. It's the frozen, independent black woman who fills up. Oh, Minister McAfee said, I used to run a church. Well, he would know more. Thank you, Minister McAfee. Thank you, brother. Yes, it's by far black women. By far black women. That's also why I, as a Hebrew man, an Israelite man, I stay away from fellowships that are ran or have a large majority of black women, or not black women, but as a large majority of the congregation is women. I stay away from those. I stay away from single women. I stay away from those. And the reason why is because we read about the training in the Willie Lynch letter. Economics. These pastors understand you can get into the mind of the frozen independent woman and get her to make sure that she pays her tithes and offerings on time. But the critical thinking, free thinking man is going to say, wait a minute. Now the Bible said, no, I'm not falling for that one. Women paying $100 for trinkets and stones and bracelets, hundreds of dollars. Frozen, independent, and everybody knows. It's a well-known fact now, which is why most advertisements are gendered. I'm gonna go there. Babes, can you bring my Bible? Which is why a large majority of advertisement is towards who? Women. They'll spend the money. Economics. That's what the Willie Lynch letter started off with. It's all about economics. So you sell them the idea on long eyelashes, makeup, and hair, and these type of shoes, and this type of perfume, and this type of foundation, and this type of bra, and this type of underwear. You can't just go get underwear because you have to get, what is that? Somebody's secret. Victoria's Secret to spend $60 for 2 pair of underwear because you're gonna feel beautiful if you wear that. Selling people on an idea. Selling frozen independent sisters on a false idea of beauty. See, those broken males, somebody's secret, right? I don't know these terms, but those broken males, they're gonna fall for that sort of thing. But men that are building, who don't want the woman to be the system's watchdog, I'm gonna leave you alone. You can go ahead and be a watchdog. Go ahead, play your religious games. Play your religious games. But your natural state was the dependence on the male figures in your life, your father and your husband. That was your state. That's why Numbers 30 talks about it. She's under the authority of her father and then the authority of her husband. And her husband has the authority to break any vow she makes when he hears it. She can't fast without her husband's permission, according to the Torah that people say they believe. Granny panties are not fashionable. No, they're not. Titus, chapter 1. Right, bundles, eyelashes, nails, billions of dollars that frozen independent women spend on the illusion of beauty, and they fashion beauty on falseness. Fake nails, fake eyelashes, foundation, eyeliner, mascara, The stuff you put, the different colors around your eyeballs, contacts, fake hair. Every part of them is fake. They are system owned. System owned. It makes it hard for us mothers to teach our daughters with Victoria's Secret at the forefront. That's right. Victoria's Secret at the forefront, teaching your daughter to over-sexualize herself to feel beautiful, but then can't figure out why a large majority of our daughters become whores. Homesteads need tough clothes, bulletproof drawer. That's right. That's what you need, a good pair of jeans. I learned this. I used to buy a lot of that, street type clothing. I used to buy black pants with red lace, like the red stitch in my pants. I used to buy black pants that had red back pocket. I used to buy all that sort of stuff. I learned something. That crap is not built to last. Because when I came out here, I wore all of my normal street clothes as work clothes, as a way to continue to devolve myself from that wicked lifestyle. Those jeans were done in 15 minutes. I wore the jeans outside and the threads started falling out. I picked up a shovel and the damn sole off my shoe came off. All this wasted stuff. Now, give me a couple pair of sturdy, maybe even Carhartt jeans. Give me 10 t-shirts. That's all I need, 10. I only have about 50 of them. Because you want to know how I got 50 of them? Because my friends at work said, we have a bunch of shirts that we're getting rid of. You want them? Yes, because I spend so much time working out here. I'm not concerned about the rest of that stuff. Give me a good pair of work boots, some t-shirts that I can rotate, and some jeans. I'm good. Titus, chapter, he said 111, I believe he said. Excuse me. For there are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision. Especially they. So the unruly and vain talkers and deceivers are especially in the faith. I'll put it that way. Whose mouths must be stopped, who subvert whole households, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake, for the sake of financial gain. That's why I explicitly say on my channel, Sister Niecy Wallace, that's a beautiful thing. A dress down to the flow. Want to know how low it can go? Right, Sister Colleen, talking loud and saying nothing. Talking loud and saying nothing. Screaming and saying nothing. Not saying a thing. People are still lost. You know the state. I'm going to say this, and this may offend some people, but you know the state of your teachings if in your teachings the fundamental principle of family is not being applied. If women are continually uncovered, if they are not finding heads, coverings, households, husbands, and they continually stay in a single state, your teaching doesn't mean shit. Your teaching does not mean shit. What were the older women supposed to be teaching the younger women? Let's go back to Titus, chapter 2. Titus chapter 2. But speak thou the things that become sound doctrine. So this is what sound doctrine is. Let's go down to verse 3. No, we'll read verse 2. We'll put it in context. That the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, and in patience. And I would suggest get a good Thayer's dictionary, download My Sword on your mobile device, and download the King James Version with the Thayer's and Brown Driver's Bridge Dictionary and look behind every one of those words. Write out the definition so you have a clear understanding what each word actually means and is saying. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becoming holiness, which is set apartness. So if you are keeping single women single, how is that set apart from the world? How is that set apart from Willie Lynch? You're just promoting Willie Lynch. If these women are continually remaining single, you're promoting the same thing he did, the frozen independent woman. Not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women. So this will be teaching the younger women, the younger widows, or the younger unmarried, to be sober, to love their husbands, love them, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of Yah be not blasphemed. So if they're not doing these things and being taught these things and doing these things, they are blaspheming the word of Yah. So if they are not being taught to love their own husbands, they are blaspheming the word of Yah. Well, they can't love what they ain't got. You can't love a husband when 60 to 70% of your congregation is unmarried women. 60 to 70% of your YouTube subscribers are unmarried women. How are they going to learn to love their husbands, to love their children, to be obedient to their husbands? When the majority of your women are single, embittered, they look at the man as, you can't protect me, I don't need you. You're just somebody promoting the Willie Lynch syndrome. The Willie Lynch letters, promoting the same systemic destruction of the family. It's a damn shame that in today's society, a large majority of our single women love watching families on YouTube while they themselves don't have one or are not in one. They love the idea of watching a YouTube family, husband, wife, children, skipping along, getting things done, but they themselves are not part of one. That's when you know the teaching of this system is working on full effect. That's when you know that the system's teachings are on point. They have done an excellent job. An excellent job. That's right, Sister Amy, and you can't love your husband if you constantly put him down and talk to him like a dog. Tell the truth. Or the women who are married and act like they are not. That's right. You have to be like those too. A lot of those. That's because you're not willing to do the work that marriage requires. That is a fact. That is an absolute fact. This is why we have the issues that we have in the faith. This is why I don't care how bad you try. And I love the sister. I love Zion. I love Rivka. And I know the husbands here love their wives, but you're not going to have any movement of anything with a bunch of single women. The only thing you're going to have is a whole lot of praying, and that's about it. You'll have a ton of spirituality, though. You'll have a ton of spirituality. Most of it fruitless. A ton! But no action, no doing. Be ye doers of the word, not hearers only, deceiving yourself. You'll see a lot of deception because none of them can. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Not many of them are going to do anything. So instead of, as I spoke, this is why I speak on marriage the way. This is why when you all ask me, when are you going to get your marriage study out? I having such a hard time concluding it because I keep finding more information. I have included the breakdown of the Willie Lynch letter in marriage, in the marriage study. That it's not going to cost you a dime. I'll just print it and send it. I'll I'll probably be more willing to send it PDF because we're on a lot of pages, and I'm not typing it out. I write my notes, so you're gonna have to get used to reading my writing. All you're gonna hear is, "I want what you have." That's exactly it. That's exactly it. The broken family was the first thing that he understood needed to be done. Break up the family. Tear down the man. Bless you, Brother Alex. Bless you, brother. Shalom to you, your house, and the families out there. Hallelujah. But the destruction of the family was the first and most effective. Let's get the man out of the house, or let's take away his ability to protect by tearing him apart in front of the woman. So now the woman doesn't see the man in the place that he's supposed to be in. And the Bible says in Ephesians 5, the husband is the savior of the body. He is the savior of the body. You are the rib. Therefore, you are part of his body. He is the savior of the body. That's the Bible. A lot of women seem to not really want a real man. They want grown boys. That's exactly what they want. They want boys who they can control, because that's part of the Willie Lynch ideal. Get the man controlled. You remember, she was the watchdog. Yes, he did. LBJ helped out along with welfare. See, the Bible has a welfare system. You leave the edges of your field and glean. Men, you don't oppress the poor, the widows, the orphans. You don't oppress them. You help them, in fact. But see, men, you don't need to help anybody because daddy has stepped in and given them everything they need. Giving them equality, whatever that means. Section 8. I was always told before I got married, you must surrender yourself around marriage, surround yourself around married people to prepare you for marriage. That's exactly it. I don't understand the idea of I'm going to surround myself around a bunch of other single people. There are plenty of people. There are books written by Israelite mothers who are teaching the younger sisters how to love their husbands, how to obey, how to love their children. But instead, let me go to a person who ain't telling me a damn thing on how to get out of my uncovered, frozen, independent state and get to a state of dependence on my husband. Dependence on the vision that he has. They don't want that. They don't want that. Yahshua, let me see what you said, brother. He said, I feel you, brother, because our sister's off as hell out here. Most women believe you have to go to the state to get married. Shaking my head. Out here, giving it up, filling with all kind of wickedness. That's the truth, brother. Sister Tanya, shalom, shalom. They turn to the state to solidify their marriage. We ain't married unless I have a certificate from the state that says. You want to know why? Because she wants to make sure that she can get your money when she leaves. That's why she wants that state contract, so that she can get your assets legally when she leaves. Again, continuing the Willie Lynch idea. I'm eventually going to finish that marriage study, and I'm linking in so much. I brought in Antiquities of the Jews from Josephus. I have the Apocrypha. I have Jasher. Obviously, I have the Bible. I have the Willie Lynch letter. I have even movie excerpts to show. I made television references just to show. This has been a plan constructed by a people that want the destruction first of the black Hebrew family unit. That goes back to Exodus, destroy the man, And now that unit it's like, we got them already. Once you own everything, you just want control. Once the system, the elite, they own it all. I just want more control now. Listen, we got them already. Let's get somebody else. Let's start getting white people. Let's start getting Mexicans. Let's start getting the Asian. Let's get everybody. In fact, damn it, we done with them. Let's get everybody else. I love that the state. Right. I love it. I love that the state says you're not married. Great. Brother Chris and Rivka, y'all aren't married. Great. I'm glad you said that. Good thing I wasn't looking for your permission, though, huh? Didn't ask you. I didn't come and seek your permission. I didn't ask for your permission. I didn't come and say, can I get your license so that I can be married, please, if I may, sir, master, can I please have your authority? Pay me some money. Oh, here you go. Here's some money. Here's my $60 for my license. My marriage is not recognized until you give me permission. So I need to wait for my certificate, so that my marriage certificate, so I can prove to other people that I'm married. Yeah, I'll pass on all that. You can keep it. Keep your licenses. Keep that. I don't need your help on that part. Thanks. I don't need your help. The Bible says, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. The establishment of it is not because I have a priest come and tell me, oh, yeah, you're married. The establishment is because I followed Yah's system. And it's just perfect to me. I don't understand women who they want the system's permission along with Yah's permission. So why do you even need Yah for then? Just go ask the system then. And I would implore every man, don't get married in this jacked up Willie Lynch system. Don't do it. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that we must ask the system's permission for me and a woman to become one flesh, for me to cover her. That the Bible says, if you sleep with a whore, do you not know that you are one flesh with her? I don't need the system's approval for that. You got people creating one flesh unions, not marriages, but unions all over the world today. That's right. We notice other states don't care about our marriages until tax time. Right. Right. It's insane. It's all part of the system. And that's what I'm speaking out against. Right. Right, Elkown. Yeah. Abraham went to Babylon when he took Sarah and Keturah. Dang it. Egypt. I know I told you she was my sister, but can you actually just give me permission to marry her so I don't offend anybody, get mad. I don't want her mad. And women today feel like they're not even married unless they have that paper. Insane. Until we renew our minds. You remember, they were attacking, the Willie Lynch brothers were attacking the psychological way we thought. The psychological, they want to train us. Now the Most High's come and says, I'm trying to train you. I'm trying to teach you and instill my ways into you. But you must obey my ways for you to ever get the full grasp and understanding of what it is I'm trying to show you. You must love my ways. If you trust in me with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, and in all of your ways acknowledge him, he'll direct your path. The question is, do you really want your paths directed by Yah, where people can see physical fruit from it? Or do you want your path directed so that all your growth is some spiritual manifestation of something that nobody can actually ever see? It's powerful when somebody says, the Most High is with me, and you look at their life, you're like, damn, I can see it. Right, Brother Malak, right. Torah will restore our family and our lives. It will. Yah's ways will restore as Brother Malak said, our families and our very lives. But it comes down to your willingness to submit to that. You have to be willing, a willing vessel. If you're not willing, then you're not going to sit there and tell me, oh, I know he with me, but you still single, uncovered, and frozen in your independence. And brothers, let me tell you, do not allow yourself to be struck with fear. I know many of us were not raised with great father figures, which was the whole point. That was one of the points of the Willie Lynch letter. But the reality of it is we should not be struck in fear, stuck in fear, fearful. If you really believe you were fearfully and wonderfully made, then you need to start thinking about what's best for you and your family. And being part of that system is not what's best for you and your family. I know the money's good. That's one of the allures of being in it. I know many of those high-paying jobs are there. But think about this. Is it worth your manhood? Is the money, the riches worth you not pursuing the vision that the Most High Yah put in you? Whatever vision that is. You gotta ask it. We can see the world right now, the way it's changing, the way you don't see beef on the shelves, the way all the reports we're hearing about food, people getting in food bank lines to try and eat. Think about that. Suddenly, men who were notorious, there's over 100 million unemployed people in this country now. Over 100 million. Was it something? It was 42 or 82 something, 42 million or something like that. 24 million people in the month of April who are unemployed, and they're saying that 50% or more of the mom and pop stores will be gone in 6 months. There's going to be a disaster. That's exactly it, L count. Gosh, you be cheating. As it says in the book of Joshua, Egypt, as L count said, hated them for their herds and crops, and they had nothing to entice them with until they found something to do so. And if you listen to not this last stream, but the one before that, where they got the children of Israel, they promised them money to come build 2 cities. Levi didn't go, but the other 11 brothers did go to help build the cities of Pharaoh, and that's how they got in bondage. That's in Joshua 65, I believe. That's how the children of Israel got into bondage. The promise and the lure of going to the city to get money, to get paid. That's what got them. That's what got them. But they hated them. The King James says it was shepherds, but they had crops, they had herds, they were able to be self-sustained. They did not need to go in. And that's what we should be building now. We should be building that now amongst each other. To remove, that need to constantly go in. Yeah, you may need to go in and get a tool or whatever, to get, a food item. But to go, you should be able to eat daily without them. I mean, even if it's rice and a salad, you should be able to eat without them. So store up while you have the time. Get yourself ready. Because it's all right. They hated them over the men's independence. You cannot get a man to come in if they are making it without. That's why Yah says, come out of her, my people. Be ye separate. He doesn't want you to receive of the sins or the plagues. He doesn't want you to do that. He's telling you, I'm telling you what to do so you don't have to ever receive them. I just think, what would have happened if I did this 12 years ago? I am 37 years old right now. Imagine if I started this when I was 18. 18 till now, if I was doing this for 19 years, I wouldn't have need of anything, really. if I was doing this for 19 years. What you see in our videos is 3 years. Imagine 19. Right, good cropland, greenhouses. I'd be producing food year round. I'd have multiple greenhouses set up. Animals. I mean, I have animals now, but imagine 19 years of goats and chickens. I would have mastered the ability to hatch eggs off grid. I would have mastered being able to breed my goats, having milk and having meat. I would have mastered that. But I do thank the Father that I'm doing it now. I love his ways. We should love his ways. The way for us to not experience a lot of this. Oh, Yahshua, yes. Wait a minute, my phone froze. My phone froze. I want to read that comment. There it is. It's a daunting task trying to get together with my brothers, seeing that most brothers just evil to the core. They are. George said, adding another greenhouse and planting another garden. We have been told to do these things. That's the truth, brother. We have been told to do these things. That is the truth. Thank you for your comment. Welcome to the channel. Never seen your name before, so welcome to the channel. We have been told to do these things. So there is a system, the the Egyptian, Babylonian, wicked, physical, spiritual, monetary. It's the whole system, the Willie Lynch system that Yah has been trying to get us to come out of so that we don't become slaves to the system or a slave to sin. How badly do we want it? I am done. I think I was only going to be on here an hour. Yes, right. Remember, it's for the few, not the many. That's right. And I have a hard time getting that sometimes. It is for the few. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. So if you have been chosen, the harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. There's a lot for us to get done. Corey, brother Corey, no, I didn't. No. Ribka, we did it right here. We did it right here. I think it's Joshua says Abraham was rich and it mentioned he had 200 head of cattle. The interesting thing is even today, if you have 200 broad cows, you would be pretty wealthy. You sure would. You sure would. You'd be wealthy with that. His ways are so simple. With 200 head, I mean, you've got beef forever. Forever. So while they're destroying beef and there's no beef on the shelves at your local stores, you would be eating fine forever with 200 head. With the ability to breed. Brother David said, I'm doing too much to list. That's right. Those that I have made the move, they are working overtime. They are working overtime to get this done. To build a place for their family, for their house. To come out of her and be separate. So the Colleen said, the convenience is what they do not wish to give up. It's hard work homesteading. Yes, sister, it is. It is hard work. But you will learn to be dependent on the Most High. Told my son to buy land since God isn't making any more of it. Once you own the land, you are blessed. That is right. And then you can start doing what you need to do. You can start it. 200 calves a year at sale at 1,000 to 50. Right, brother. Imagine that. Imagine that. We got 31 birds to build coops for. People are getting stuff done. Brethren are getting stuff done. It's about time we all do it. All right, I said I was going to be on an hour. It's 3 hours and 34 minutes. I did not mean to get so caught up into that. I mean, yeah, I did. That's what we talked about today, is the Willie Lynch letters. We will probably Maybe next week do a part 2 to the Willie Lynch letter. We'll talk more about it, and we'll bring some Bible verses into it, a lot of Bible verses into it, about the systemic destruction from Egypt to now of the Hebrew male, of the breaking of the Hebrew male, of the reason of the breaking of the Hebrew male. But until then, I would implore all of you, you download it yourself, read the book, read the letter, let it set into your heart. Let it set into your heart. Look at it, whether you're white or black. If you're a white person, understand this is what the plan that they enacted for black folk. And now you're now entangled in that same letter because the system has turned on everybody. It turned on us a long time ago, but now it's turned on you. Have a good night. Have a blessed work week. I will try to get some videos out this week. The sisters are not doing a live stream this week, but they'll do one next week. But I'm going to try to get a couple videos out this week. I've been asked some soil questions and stuff like that, so I'll try to get those videos out there. Bless you all my brothers and sisters. My blood-born brothers and sisters, and my brothers and sisters, the strangers that have joined on. Bless you all. Have a great work week. Who is my brother? Who is my mother? They that keep the commandments of Yah. Bless you all. And shalom.